I am Sophia Carter. At 32, I was at the peak of my career as a successful real estate developer in the heart of New York City. My days were filled with multi-million-dollar deals, high-profile clients, and skyscrapers that I myself had designed. To the outside world, I was the epitome of success, the woman who had it all: career, beauty, and an enviable life. But it wasn't just the numbers that defined me. It was the life I had built around myself, a life of control, precision, and perfection. Each morning I woke up early, dressed in sleek business attire, and started my day with a cup of coffee while reviewing my calendar. My phone never stopped buzzing, but I welcomed it. After all, being in charge was my thing. And then there was Noah, the man I thought was my soulmate, a well-respected investment banker who wore sharp suits, carried himself with grace, and always had the right words to say. We were a power couple, or at least that's what I believed. Our relationship was the envy of many, perfectly curated for Instagram and dinner parties. We supported each other in our careers, shared dreams of a future filled with family, travel, and success. The proposal had been perfect, the engagement ring sparkling with a promise. Less than a week away, we would stand at the altar and everything would be just as it should be. But then, the phone call came. I had just finished organizing my wedding invitations when the name Madison appeared on my screen. I hesitated. Madison, my younger sister by 4 years, had always been a complication in my life. Reckless, attention-seeking, and always stepping into my shadow, Madison had a knack for making everything about herself. As children, it was always Madison who got the attention, acting out, getting into trouble, stealing the spotlight. But today, something in her voice was different. "Sophia, you need to come home. It's Grandpa. He's in the ICU, and it's really bad," Madison sobbed over the phone. My heart skipped a beat. Grandpa, the man who had raised us both after our parents passed away, the one constant in our lives, a rock, a foundation. Without thinking, I grabbed my suitcase and started throwing clothes into it. "I'm on my way," I said, voice shaky with panic. I texted Noah, letting him know what was happening and that I was heading to New York. But Noah didn't reply. It wasn't unusual. He was likely busy with finalizing wedding details. Still, a part of my mind couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. But what was the alternative? I had to be there for Grandpa. The flight felt endless, my mind racing. Every worst-case scenario ran through my head as I clutched the seat armrests. My hands shook as I dialed Madison's number again, but it went straight to voicemail. When I finally landed, everything felt like a blur. I rushed to the hospital, praying I wasn't too late. My heart raced as I rushed through the hospital doors, hoping against hope that I wasn't too late. The sterile, cold air of the hospital felt suffocating, the sound of my footsteps echoing in the empty hallways. I made my way to the front desk, breathless and panicked. "I need to see William Carter. He's in the ICU," I said urgently, my voice barely above a whisper. The nurse at the desk frowned, flipping through her records. "I'm sorry, but there's no William Carter admitted here." My stomach dropped. That can't be right. Grandpa had been rushed in that morning, his condition dire. I quickly pulled out my phone, calling Madison again, but as expected, it went straight to voicemail. My mind raced, the confusion turning into fear. "I need to see him," I repeated, voice trembling, my grip tightening on the counter. "He was just brought in today." The nurse shook her head. "Are you sure you have the right hospital?" she asked, her tone even but distant. My pulse thudded in my ears. "No, this isn't possible. Madison said he was in ICU. She told me." Panic set in as the realization dawned. Something wasn't adding up. "Yes," I insisted, trying to keep my voice steady. "I'm sure. This is the place. Please, check again." The nurse, more annoyed than concerned, flipped through the records one more time. "I'm sorry, there's no one by that name here," she said, her words final. My mind spun. Why hadn't Madison answered my calls? She'd sounded so frantic, so desperate on the phone. Why would she lie? Why would she send me across the country to this? My body moved on autopilot as I stumbled out of the hospital. I grabbed a cab, barely able to focus on the driver's words as I gave him Grandpa's address, my mind still clouded with confusion. What was going on? Had Madison made some mistake? Or was there something darker at play? The drive felt like an eternity, each minute stretching into an unbearable nightmare. As I arrived at Grandpa's house, a wave of nausea hit me. I hesitated before opening the front door, a cold dread creeping through my veins. But when I stepped inside, the world stopped. Grandpa was standing there in the kitchen, smiling brightly as though nothing had happened. His face was warm, his eyes twinkling with surprise. "Sweetheart, what a surprise! What are you doing here?" he asked, setting down his coffee cup. I froze. I couldn't breathe. My legs felt like lead, my heart pounding in my chest. He's fine. He's standing here, smiling, drinking coffee. What the hell is going on? "Grandpa," I whispered, blinking hard, my voice thick with disbelief. "Madison. She said you were in the ICU. She said you collapsed, that it was serious." "Cool." Grandpa frowned, clearly confused. "ICU? I haven't even had a cold this year. Are you sure you heard her right?" My world began to spin. The ICU, the hospital, the emergency call, all of it a lie. A sick, gut-wrenching lie. My stomach churned as the truth slowly sank in. Madison had made up the entire story. My phone buzzed in my pocket, but I couldn't bring myself to look at it. Instead, I pulled up Madison's social media page. My fingers shook as I opened an Instagram post that made my entire body freeze. It was a wedding photo. Madison was standing at the altar in my wedding dress, holding Noah's hand. Both of them were grinning, lost in the moment, completely unaware of the devastation they had caused. I stared at the caption, my breath catching in my throat. "Sorry, sis, but sometimes love can't wait." The room spun. The walls closed in. The betrayal sliced through me like a knife. I couldn't speak. I couldn't breathe. The life I thought I had, the future I had built, everything was a lie. My mind screamed as I stumbled back, my knees buckling beneath me. Madison and Noah, my sister, my fiancé, had stolen it all. Everything I had worked for, everything I had loved, and now I was left with nothing. Nothing but the cold, bitter taste of betrayal. My hands shook as I gripped the edge of Grandpa's kitchen counter, my mind still reeling from the shocking discovery. The truth was sinking in. Madison and Noah had betrayed me, not just in love, but in the one area where I had always felt in control, my career. The phone buzzed again, pulling me from the whirlwind of my thoughts. I glanced at the screen and saw Daniel Rossi's name. Daniel was more than a mentor. He had helped me navigate the cutthroat world of real estate, guiding me through tough deals and intricate contracts. He was one of the few people in my life I truly trusted. "It's done. You now own 55% of Bennett Capital. Congratulations." My breath caught in my throat. The words echoed in my mind. 55% of Bennett Capital? Noah's company. The company he had struggled to keep afloat for the past several months. The same company he had kept hidden from me, his financial struggles buried under layers of deceit. As I read the message again, everything clicked into place. My heart raced, but this time it wasn't from anger. It was from the cold realization that I now had the upper hand, not just in business, but in life. While Noah and Madison had schemed to steal my wedding, I had silently outmaneuvered them both. Bennett Capital was on the brink of bankruptcy. Noah had been desperate to secure funding, almost bankrupting himself in the process. I had been aware of his financial troubles for months, thanks to my network of connections in the business world. I had seen the cracks in his carefully constructed facade long before he ever thought to involve me. I had been playing my own game, quietly acquiring the majority stake in the company through my own legal maneuvers. I didn't tell Noah, didn't even hint at it. I wanted to surprise him after our honeymoon with the news that I had saved his company. But now, I wasn't thinking about saving him. Now, it was about taking everything he had built and watching him lose it all. A slow, bitter smile curled at the corner of my lips. They had no idea what they had just done. I walked out of Grandpa's house, my mind already moving forward, formulating a new plan. Madison and Noah thought they had taken everything from me. They thought they had humiliated me, shattered my world. But in reality, they had handed me the greatest weapon I could have hoped for: power. I needed to make a call to Olivia. Olivia Price, my best friend, was a journalist with a sharp eye for detail. She had helped me uncover some of Noah's darkest secrets over the years. Olivia always had her ear to the ground, knew things before anyone else did. I needed her now more than ever. I dialed Olivia's number, trying to steady my breath. The phone rang once, twice, and then Olivia's familiar voice crackled through the speaker. "Sophia?" she said, the concern clear in her voice. "Where are you? I thought you were in New York with Grandpa." "I'm fine," I interrupted, cutting to the chase. "He's not in the ICU. He was never sick. Madison lied. She used me to cover for her wedding to Noah." There was a long silence on the other end, and then Olivia cursed under her breath. "I knew something was off when I saw those wedding photos," she said. "I was waiting for you to call me and tell me it was some sick joke, but this is worse than I thought." My voice was cold as I spoke. "It's not just a betrayal of my heart. It's a betrayal of my business, too. I own 55% of Bennett Capital now, Olivia, and Noah doesn't even know it yet." The silence on the other end deepened as Olivia absorbed the weight of my words. Oh, they have no idea what they've just walked into. I let out a breath, feeling the surge of power course through me. I wasn't just going to let them get away with this. I wasn't just going to be a victim of their scheme. No, I was going to make them pay. "Get ready, Olivia," I said, my voice resolute, "because it's time to destroy their world." This wasn't about revenge anymore. This was about reclaiming everything I had lost and making sure Noah and Madison never thought they could take advantage of me again. And the first step was already set in motion. I felt like the world had shifted beneath my feet as I sat down in my apartment, staring at my phone. The message from Daniel still lingered in my mind. "You now own 55% of Bennett Capital." That single line had turned everything upside down. I could hardly grasp the power I now held, especially in a situation as tangled as the one involving Noah and Madison. For the first time in days, I allowed myself to breathe, though it was a cold, calculating breath. The weight of the betrayal stung, but I wasn't the kind of woman to crumble. Instead, I steeled myself for what was coming next. I hadn't spoken to Madison since the wedding photo, but the longer I sat there, the more I felt the growing distance between us. This wasn't just about love or betrayal anymore. This was about control, and Madison had taken everything from me. My wedding, my fiancé, and now she had taken the life I had spent years building, without a second thought. A message from Madison popped up on my phone. "Can we talk?" I stared at the words for a long moment. My fingers hovered over the screen. I could feel the weight of my sister's request, but something inside me snapped. The anger that had been simmering since I first saw the wedding photo began to rise, making my hands tremble with a mixture of rage and disgust. Before I could stop myself, I typed back, "What's left to say?" A few seconds later, the phone buzzed again. "Please, I'm sorry, Sophia. I made a huge mistake. I just need to explain." I scoffed. I didn't want apologies or explanations. I didn't want anything that came out of Madison's mouth. Madison had chosen this path. She had taken Noah, my fiancé, and now there was nothing left to salvage between them. But I couldn't avoid it. The situation had become too big, too public. If I didn't face it now, it would hang over me forever. My instincts told me that I should confront this head-on, even if it meant facing the harsh truth of my sister's manipulation. The following day, Madison showed up at my apartment, looking smaller than usual, vulnerable even. I observed her carefully as she stepped inside, noting how my sister avoided eye contact and fidgeted with her hands. "Sophia, Madison's voice cracked before she could finish her sentence. "I didn't know what I was doing. I was so caught up in everything, and I thought I could make it right. But I see now I've destroyed everything." I crossed my arms, my gaze icy as I looked at my sister. "You've destroyed my life, Madison. You've taken everything from me. Everything." Madison's face crumpled with guilt. I never meant to hurt you, I swear. Noah, he convinced me that I had to take the chance. I was just following him and then I lost myself in all of it. My voice turned bitter. You lost yourself? No, Madison. You stole from me, my wedding, my trust, my... You used me as your pawn, and you don't even have the decency to own up to it. Madison opened her mouth to speak, but stopped herself. The reality of what she had done was settling in, and the weight of it was too much for her to bear. She took a deep breath before speaking again. You're right. I was reckless. I'm sorry. I don't expect you to forgive me. But please, just know it was never about you. It was about me feeling lost, about trying to get control of something for once. My anger simmered, but I held it in check. I don't care what it was about, Madison. You destroyed the one thing that mattered most to me. Madison's voice dropped to a whisper. Noah, he wasn't even who I thought he was. I've realized that now. I felt a sick satisfaction at Madison's words. And now you know the truth, I said coldly. That Noah used you just like he used me. He used both of us to get what he wanted. Madison looked down, her tears welling up as the reality of their shared betrayal hit her. But I could only feel numb. This wasn't about my sister anymore. It was about taking back everything that had been ripped away. I've already moved on, Madison, I said, my voice firm. I won't let this destroy me. But you need to figure out who you want to be. Because right now, I don't know who you are anymore. The silence between us was heavy, filled with years of unspoken tension and broken trust. Finally, Madison nodded slowly, tears streaming down her face. I understand. I turned away, unwilling to face my sister any longer. I couldn't allow myself to be pulled back into the chaos Madison had created. I had a different path ahead of me now, one that would destroy Noah and rebuild everything I had lost. And Madison? She would have to face the consequences of her actions just as Noah would. They had made their choices. Now it was time for me to make mine. My mind was racing, the events of the past few days tumbling through my thoughts like a whirlwind. Madison's tearful apology had done nothing to soothe me. The betrayal was too deep, the wound too fresh. What had been a day of shocking revelations had now turned into a cold, calculated plan for revenge. No longer was it about love or family. It was about control. I had no intention of letting Noah or Madison get away with what they had done to me. I spent the next few days holed up in my apartment, quietly building my strategy. Bennett Capital was my leverage now. I didn't need to act out of rage or desperation. I could be methodical, precise. I would make Noah and Madison regret ever underestimating me. The power I held in the company was my trump card. 55% of the company now belonged to me, and I had no plans to back down. If anything, I would make sure Noah paid for everything he had done. The lies, the manipulation, the betrayal. But I wasn't just going to destroy Noah. I would rebuild the company from the ground up, taking control of everything he had tried to take from me. He had thought he could hide his secrets from me, but now the tables had turned. I had already set things in motion. I'd made calls to the board members, scheduled emergency meetings, and started gathering evidence of Noah's financial mismanagement and the fraudulent activities he'd been hiding from the public. Ethan Miles, the man who had warned me about Noah's dealings, was now fully in my corner, helping me uncover the depth of Noah's deception. The first step was to consolidate my power. I couldn't just be the woman who was wronged. I needed to become the woman who controlled everything. Noah's downfall was inevitable, but it had to be calculated. My phone buzzed once again, and it was Olivia's name flashing across the screen. Olivia had been my closest confidant through everything, and right now, she was the only person who could understand the full scope of what I was about to do. I answered, my voice steady. Olivia, I'm moving forward. I know, Olivia replied, her tone both relieved and filled with determination. I saw the board meeting notice. You're going to take Bennett Capital, aren't you? I smiled, a dangerous glint in my eyes. I already have. Now I need to clean up the mess Noah's made and make sure he doesn't walk away unscathed. It's time to take control, Olivia, for good. Olivia's voice lowered, filled with a touch of admiration. "This is going to be one hell of a ride, isn't it?" My laugh was bitter. "It's not a ride, Olivia. It's a war." As the days passed, my plan began to unfold. I reached out to key investors who were disillusioned with Noah's management and began positioning myself as the leader of the company. The emergency board meeting was scheduled, and when the time came, I was ready to face Noah head-on. I knew that Noah would try to fight back. He always did. He would try to charm the board members, make them believe he was still the man for the job. But I wasn't relying on charm. I was relying on evidence, hard, undeniable facts. Every shady deal, every attempt to hide money, every manipulation of the company's funds, all of it was about to come to light. But even more than that, I was relying on the power I now held over Noah. I wasn't the naive woman he thought he could control. I wasn't the weak partner who would simply roll over. I was the one with the stake in the company, and now I would show him that I was in charge. I sat back in my chair, taking a deep breath. The storm was coming. Noah had no idea what was about to hit him, but I wasn't afraid. I had played the long game, and now it was time for the final move. As I glanced at the time on my phone, my fingers hovered over the screen. I was ready to send the final confirmation. The emergency board meeting was in less than an hour. There was no turning back. I stood up, walking towards the window and gazing out at the skyline of New York, the city I had fought so hard to make my own. It was a city of power and ambition, and I had learned to navigate its challenges with precision. Now, I was about to take everything Noah had built and reshape it into something entirely new. I didn't need to be a victim anymore. I wasn't just a woman wronged. I was a force to be reckoned with. It was time for the final act to begin. The morning of the emergency board meeting, I stood in front of the full-length mirror, adjusting the sleek black dress I had chosen for the occasion. I had never been one for flashy displays. Today, it wasn't about drawing attention. It was about commanding it. Every inch of my attire was carefully selected to exude power, confidence, and authority. I wasn't just stepping into that boardroom as an outsider, as Noah's fiancée, or the woman he had betrayed. Today, I was stepping in as the new face of Bennett Capital, ready to take control. I arrived at the headquarters with a calm, unwavering expression. I wasn't nervous. I didn't need to be. Everything had already been set in motion, and now it was time to deliver the final blow. Noah had no idea what he was walking into, and that gave me an eerie sense of satisfaction. The game had changed, and I was the one holding all the cards. I entered the boardroom, my heels clicking sharply on the marble floor, and immediately all eyes were on me. The board members were already seated, murmuring amongst themselves, uncertain of what was about to unfold. I didn't acknowledge them. Instead, I walked straight to the head of the table where a chair was waiting for me. I sat down without hesitation, the room quieting as I made my presence felt. Noah entered a few minutes later, his expression already tight with unease. He had always prided himself on his composure, but today there was no hiding the tension in his body. As he walked to his seat, I could see the flicker of doubt in his eyes. He knew something was wrong, but he didn't yet understand just how deep the trap was set. I waited, watching him as he settled into his chair, straightening his suit. The meeting started with the usual pleasantries, but I wasn't here for formalities. I was here for one thing, to take him down. I called this meeting today because Bennett Capital is facing a critical crossroads, I began, my voice steady and clear. The company's future depends on the decisions we make in this room, and I intend to make sure those decisions are made with the best interests of the company, its investors, and its employees in mind. I paused for a moment, making sure every eye in the room was on me before continuing. We can no longer afford to sweep things under the rug. Too many secrets have been kept, and today, the truth will come out. Noah's jaw clenched, but he said nothing. He had been preparing for this moment in his own way, but he hadn't expected me to be so direct, so certain of my control. I leaned forward slightly, my gaze locked onto Noah's. For the past year, millions of dollars have been siphoned from this company, transfers to private accounts, suspicious transactions, and in case anyone here had doubts, I have the proof. A murmur ran through the room. The board members exchanged nervous glances, but Noah's face remained rigid, though his hands were now visibly clenched on the table. Ethan, who had been quietly sitting by my side, stood up and connected his laptop to the projector, pulling up the first set of documents. "These are the records of the transactions made under the guise of company funds," Ethan said calmly, clicking through several screens. "At first glance, these accounts appear to belong to Madison Carter Bennett, but upon further investigation, we found that every single one of these transactions was authorized by Noah Bennett himself." The room fell into stunned silence as the emails, signatures, and transaction approvals flashed across the screen. The evidence was damning. My voice sliced through the tension. "I'm sure you all know the gravity of these actions. These aren't just mistakes or bad business decisions. These are criminal acts, and I have every intention of holding Noah accountable." Noah shot to his feet, his chair scraping violently against the floor. "This is a setup," he shouted, his face turning red with anger. "This is all lies! You can't do this!" I stood up, my presence commanding as I locked eyes with him. "You've been setting this up for months, Noah. You thought you could hide your failures, your lies, your manipulation, but you didn't realize one thing." Noah was breathing heavily now, his hands shaking as he reached for his glass. "What's that?" he spat. I smiled coldly, my words cutting through the room like a knife. "I'm not the naive woman you thought you could control anymore. And now I hold all the power." Noah staggered back, as if the truth had just hit him with full force. The room was tense, the air thick with anticipation. The board members were no longer watching the drama unfold in silence. They were whispering, exchanging looks of disbelief and concern. I turned to Richard Bennett, Noah's father, who had been quietly observing everything. He stood up, his face pale, his voice heavy with disapproval. "Noah, is this true?" Richard asked, his tone low, disappointed. Noah stammered, unable to find the words to defend himself. His mask had cracked, and I saw him for what he truly was. A man cornered, a man who had relied on lies to prop up his empire. I stood tall, unyielding. "Effective immediately, I'm proposing that Noah Bennett step down as CEO of Bennett Capital." The board members exchanged glances, unsure of what to do next, but one by one, they raised their hands in agreement. It was unanimous. Security entered the room and Noah was escorted out. His voice echoed down the hallway as he was dragged away, still shouting, "You think you've won, Sophia? You think this is over?" I didn't flinch. I had won. And now it was time to take control of what was mine. I sat back down at the head of the table, the weight of the room shifting with the fall of Noah. Security had escorted him out, but the silence that followed was anything but calm. The board members were still processing what had just unfolded, but my mind was already racing ahead. I had won, but there was more to do. Noah's removal was just the beginning. The faces around the table were a mix of awe and uncertainty. I could feel their eyes on me, but my gaze never wavered. They knew who was in charge now, and I wasn't going to waste this opportunity. "Now that Noah is no longer part of Bennett Capital," I said, my voice firm and unshakable, "it's time to move forward. We will rebuild this company, but we will do it right. We will be transparent, we will be ethical, and we will grow stronger than ever before." One of the senior board members, a woman in her late 50s, cleared her throat. "Sophia, we have a lot of work ahead of us, but with your leadership, I believe we can do it. I want to be part of that change. We all do." I nodded, appreciating the sentiment. "Thank you," I said, "and I will need all of you to work with me, not just as employees, but as partners. We will change the direction of this company and prove that Bennett Capital isn't just about one person. It's about all of us." My eyes scanned the room, and I saw the hesitant glances beginning to fade. The tension had not completely dissipated, but I could feel the shift. The board was slowly starting to buy into my vision. They understood now. They could either fight me and risk losing everything, or they could join me and rise to the occasion. "I'm confident we can turn this around," I continued, the fire in my voice undeniable. "But there's one more thing we need to address." Everyone leaned in, awaiting my next move. "Noah and Madison, though they thought they could tear me down, will be dealt with. Noah will face the legal consequences of his actions. As for Madison..." I paused, my fingers curling around the edges of the table as I let the words settle. Madison will have to face her own consequences, but I'm not here to destroy her. She made her choices, and she'll have to live with them. I stood, signaling the end of the meeting. Now, let's get to work. As the board members stood to leave, my mind was already planning the next steps. There was no going back now. I was taking control of everything, and no one, not even Noah or Madison, could stop me. The days following the board meeting were a blur of meetings, phone calls, and strategies. Bennett Capital was slowly beginning to recover, and I was firmly in control. I made sweeping changes, from restructuring the company's finances to implementing transparency protocols that had long been ignored. But while the company was starting to heal, my personal life was far from mended. Madison reached out again, this time without any pretense. She had nowhere left to run. The phone call came on a quiet evening as I sat alone in my office looking out at the lights of the city below. "I need to see you." Madison's voice trembled through the phone. "Please." I took a deep breath. I had been waiting for this moment, but nothing could have prepared me for the feeling that gripped me as I agreed to meet. We met at a small cafe, the place where we had once shared stories over hot cocoa as children. Madison looked different now, broken, fragile, and full of regret. The woman sitting across from me was no longer the reckless, self-absorbed sister I had once known. She was a shell of the person she had been. "Why?" I asked, my voice a mix of anger and sadness. "Why did you do it, Madison?" Madison's eyes were red, her voice barely a whisper. "I don't know. I was angry. I felt invisible. I've spent my whole life in your shadow, and Noah—" She choked on the last word. "I thought I could finally get something for myself." I looked at my sister, the same woman who had stolen everything I had held dear. The betrayal still stung, but the rage had faded. "Madison, you need to fix this, for yourself, for the people you've hurt." Madison nodded, tears welling in her eyes. "I don't know how to make it right, but I want to. I'm sorry. I never meant to destroy you." I paused. I wanted to feel angry, to lash out, but I knew it wouldn't change anything. "You can start by fixing what you broke," I said quietly. "And you can start by telling the truth, about Noah, about everything." Madison nodded again, her eyes filled with a mix of guilt and determination. "I will." As I walked away from the cafe, my thoughts swirled. I had won. I had taken back what was mine. But the path forward wasn't just about revenge. It was about rebuilding. For me, for the company, and in a way, even for Madison. The final act of this battle had been fought, but it was the beginning of a new chapter for me. I wasn't just rebuilding a company, I was rebuilding my own life, stronger, wiser, and more determined than ever before. And with that, Sophia Carter's journey toward redemption and empowerment had only just begun.
The sound of breaking glass shattered the silence of our empty house. I froze at my desk, pen hovering over half-graded biology papers, heart suddenly thundering against my ribs. No one should be home. Dad was at work, Emma was at college, and Rachel was visiting her sister in Portland. I'm Lauren, and after 25 years of predictable suburban life, I knew every creak and groan of our Victorian home. This sound didn't belong. Another crash echoed from downstairs, followed by muffled cursing. My fingers found my phone, thumb hovering over the emergency dial. The smart thing would be to call the police. Instead, I grabbed the heavy brass paperweight from my desk and crept toward the stairs. The intruder was in Dad's study. Moonlight spilled through the bay windows, illuminating a familiar silhouette I hadn't seen in 19 years. My mother, Sarah Miller, was rifling through Dad's filing cabinet like she still owned the place. "What the hell are you doing here?" The words escaped before I could stop them. She whirled around, clutching a manila folder to her chest. Her face had aged, but those sharp green eyes, my eyes, hadn't changed. "Lauren." Her voice was exactly as I remembered, soft and musical, completely at odds with the situation. "You've grown so tall." Get out before I call the police. My grip tightened on the paperweight. You won't. She smiled that knowing smile that used to comfort me during thunderstorms. Now it made my stomach turn. You want answers too badly. Answers? I barked out a laugh. 19 years too late for those, don't you think? She glanced at her watch, then the window. I don't have time to explain everything now, but you need to listen carefully. Things aren't what they seem. Your father. Don't you dare talk about Dad. You lost that right when you walked out on us. I didn't walk out, Lauren. I was forced to leave. Her eyes darted to the doorway behind me. There are things you don't understand. Dangerous things. Watch out for Olivia. She's not who you think she is. Who's Olivia? Instead of answering, she tucked the folder into her jacket and moved toward the window. I have to go, but I'll be in touch when it's safe. She paused, one foot on the window seat. Your sister Mia asks about you. The paperweight slipped from my numb fingers, hitting the carpet with a dull thud. My what? But she was already gone, disappearing into the darkness like she had 19 years ago. Only this time, she left behind more than just abandonment. She left questions that burned like acid in my throat. I stumbled to Dad's desk and flipped on the lamp. The filing cabinet drawer hung open, its contents in disarray. Whatever she'd taken, she'd been looking for something specific. My hands shook as I tried to make sense of the scattered papers. My phone buzzed in my pocket, a text from an unknown number. Delete this immediately. Trust no one, especially not Olivia. She's been watching your father for years. I'll explain everything soon. Mom. I stared at the message until the screen went dark, my mind racing. A sister named Mia. Someone named Olivia. Dangerous things. My mother's sudden reappearance after nearly 2 decades of silence. None of it made sense, but one thing was crystal clear. The carefully constructed stability of my life had just been shattered like the glass still glittering on the study floor. The front door opened downstairs. Lauren? Dad's voice called out. You home? I quickly closed the filing cabinet and kicked the broken glass under his desk. Up here, I called back, deleting the text message with trembling fingers. His footsteps on the stairs gave me just enough time to school my features into neutrality, but inside, something dark and determined was taking root. My mother might have left me with nothing but questions, but I was going to find answers, no matter the cost. 3 days after my mother's midnight visit, I found myself staring at an unfamiliar bank statement on Dad's computer. The numbers didn't add up. Regular monthly transfers of $5,000 to an account I'd never seen before, all tagged with the initials OH. What are you doing in here? Emma's voice cut through my concentration. She stood in the doorway, arms crossed, looking more like Rachel every day. I minimized the window. Research for work. The lie came easily. What brings you home from college on a Tuesday? Dad asked me to help organize the charity gala. She lingered, eyes narrowing. You've been acting weird since Sunday night. Did something happen? Nothing happened. Everything happened. Just stressed about work. Emma moved closer, perching on Dad's desk. You were always a terrible liar, Lauren. I heard you and Dad arguing yesterday. Eavesdropping now? When you're shouting about Mom? Yeah, I am. She picked up a framed photo of our family, before Sarah left, before Rachel, before everything fractured. Why bring her up after all this time? I studied my sister's face, wondering how much to reveal. Don't you ever wonder why she left? No, Emma set the photo down with deliberate care. And neither should you. We have Rachel now. We're happy. Are we? The door downstairs opened, followed by voices. Dad and a woman I didn't recognize. Emma straightened, suddenly alert. That's Olivia, Dad's new business partner. My heart stopped. OH, the bank transfers. Lauren, Dad called up. Come down, please. There's someone I'd like you to meet. Emma was already heading for the stairs. I closed the banking window and followed, each step feeling like lead. The woman standing in our foyer was striking, tall, elegant, with a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "You must be Lauren," she said, extending a manicured hand. "I've heard so much about you." I shook her hand, noting her grip was just slightly too tight. "Funny, I haven't heard anything about you." "Lauren," Dad warned. "No, it's fine," Olivia laughed. "I prefer to fly under the radar, but your father and I have some exciting plans for the family business." "I wasn't aware we had a family business." Dad cleared his throat. "Olivia's helping me diversify some investments. Actually, that's partly why I wanted you here. We're hosting a gala next week to announce our new venture." "What venture?" The question came out sharper than intended. "Conservation projects," Olivia answered smoothly. "Your father mentioned you work in wildlife education. We'd love your input." Something in her tone set off warning bells. I remembered Mom's text, "Trust no one, especially not Olivia." "I should get back to work," I said. "Nice meeting you." "Lauren," Dad's voice stopped me halfway up the stairs. "We need to talk about Sunday night." I turned back. Olivia was watching me with calculated interest, while Emma seemed suddenly fascinated by her phone. "Nothing to talk about," I said. "Unless there's something you want to tell me." The silence stretched thin. Dad wouldn't meet my eyes. "I thought not." I continued upstairs, but not before catching Olivia's whispered comment to my father. "She's gonna be a problem, Michael." Back in the study, I pulled up my phone and searched Olivia Hayes' business ventures. Pages of results appeared, mostly charity galas and conservation fundraisers. But buried in the archives was an article from 15 years ago, Hayes Industries under investigation for wildlife trafficking. The article had been removed, leaving only the headline. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Meet me tomorrow, Cafe on 4th, 2 p.m., come alone, MS." Below it was a photo, recent, showing a young girl with Sarah's eyes and my smile. "Mia." I heard Olivia laugh downstairs, followed by Emma's eager response. The sound grated against my nerves like steel on glass. Whatever game Olivia was playing, whatever connection she had to my mother's disappearance and these mysterious payments, I was going to figure it out. But first, I needed to meet my sister. I glanced at the family photo Emma had been holding earlier. Behind the smiling faces, I could now see the cracks forming, the secrets that would eventually tear us apart. Tomorrow, I'd start putting the pieces back together. Or maybe I'd discover they were better left shattered. The cafe on 4th Street buzzed with afternoon crowds, but I spotted Sarah immediately. She sat in a corner booth, Mia beside her, both their heads bent over what looked like homework. My half-sister. The reality of her existence hit me harder in daylight. "You came." Sarah's smile wavered as I slid into the booth. "Mia, this is Lauren." Mia looked up, green eyes mirror images of my own. "I know, I've seen your pictures." Before I could respond, Olivia Hayes materialized beside our table. "What a charming family reunion." Sarah went rigid. "You followed me?" "Insurance, darling." Olivia's perfectly manicured hand came to rest on Mia's shoulder. "We wouldn't want anyone making impulsive decisions." "Get your hand off my sister." The words came out before I could stop them. Olivia's smile sharpened. "Sister? Interesting choice of words, considering you just met." But then again, family is such a fluid concept these days. Just ask your father about the conservation project contracts. "What about them?" "Lauren, don't," Sarah warned. "Oh, she doesn't know?" Olivia slid into our booth, forcing me to move over. "Your father's signature on those contracts? Forged. The real documents are quite different, but proving that would mean admitting to years of fraud, wouldn't it, Michael?" My father stood at the cafe entrance, face ashen. He must have followed me here. "Dad?" "It's not what you think," he started. "It never is," I said, pieces clicking into place. "The monthly payments, the sudden partnership with Olivia. You're being blackmailed." Blackmailed is such an ugly word, Olivia mused. I prefer mutually beneficial arrangement. Your mother understood that eventually, didn't you, Sarah? Sarah pulled Mia closer. I understood you'd destroy everything if I didn't play along. And now history repeats itself. Olivia's gaze locked onto mine. Lauren here has been poking around where she shouldn't, accessing private financial records, asking questions about old news articles. Tell me, dear, how's your job at the Wildlife Center? My blood ran cold. What did you do? Nothing yet, but one phone call about certain irregularities in your research permits. That's enough, Dad's voice cracked like a whip. Leave my daughters out of this. Daughters? Olivia laughed. Which ones? The ones you claim or the one you abandoned? Mia's pencil snapped in her grip. You don't get to play that card, I said, anger burning away my fear. Not when you're the reason our family fell apart. No, Lauren. Sarah's voice was quiet. Olivia didn't break our family. We did that ourselves with every secret we kept, every truth we buried. She just exploited the cracks that were already there. And I'll keep exploiting them, Olivia said pleasantly, unless everyone remembers their place. Michael, the contracts need your real signature by tomorrow. Sarah, our mutual friend, needs those permits processed. And Lauren, her smile turned predatory. Stop digging, or your sister, any of them, might face consequences you're not prepared for. She stood, smoothing her designer suit. Lovely chat. Mia, darling, remember what we discussed about your future? We watched her leave in suffocating silence. How long? I asked Dad. How long has she been pulling our strings? Since before your mother left. He wouldn't meet my eyes. The wildlife trafficking investigation. I found evidence, but by then it was too late. She had everything documented, every shortcut I'd taken to save the business during the recession. So you let her drive Mom away? Let her threaten us? I thought I was protecting you. Well, you failed. I stood up, hands shaking. And now she's doing it again with Mia. Sarah reached for my arm. Lauren, please, we can't fight her. Not directly. Watch me. I pulled away, mind already racing with possibilities. You might have given up, but I haven't, and I won't let her hurt anyone else in our family. Lauren, Dad called after me, but I was already walking away. My phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. Smart girl, wrong choice, check your email. The Wildlife Center had terminated my position, effective immediately. Cited concerns about ethical violations in my research. I smiled grimly. Olivia thought she'd won, thought she'd scared me off, but she'd just given me nothing left to lose. Game on. Ben Carter's office at the Wildlife Sanctuary felt like the last safe place in my unraveling world. He studied the documents spread across his desk. Bank statements, permit applications, and the fragments of Olivia's past I'd managed to piece together. This goes deeper than wildlife trafficking, he said, tapping a financial report. These shell companies, the way the money moves, it's not just animals she's smuggling. What else? Could be anything. Drugs, weapons. He hesitated. People. My coffee turned bitter in my mouth. You think she's involved in human trafficking? Your mother's sudden departure, the control over your father's business. Now Mia. He let the implications hang in the air. A knock interrupted us. Ethan Brooks, my former colleague, stood in the doorway. Lauren, you need to see this. He pulled up a video on his phone. Security footage from the sanctuary's research facility. Emma, my sister, accessing restricted files at midnight. When was this? Last night, right before someone leaked those fabricated research violations that got you fired. The betrayal hit like a physical blow. She's working for Olivia. Or being forced to, Ben suggested. Like your father. My phone buzzed. Rachel, my stepmother. Emma's in the hospital. She tried to... Lauren, please come. The drive to the hospital was a blur. I found Rachel in the waiting room, mascara streaked down her face. What happened? They're calling it an accident. She took too many sleeping pills. Rachel's hands twisted in her lap. But she left this for you. A folded note, Emma's hurried handwriting. Storage Unit 23, Red Oak Facility. The truth about Mia, I'm sorry. Dad appeared in the hallway, Olivia at his side like a shadow. Lauren, what are you doing here? Checking on my sister, or is that not allowed anymore? Now isn't the time for, Dad started, but Olivia cut him off. Actually, it's the perfect time. Emma's accident is unfortunate, but perhaps it will remind everyone what's at stake when they make impulsive choices. The threat in her voice was unmistakable. She'd done this, pushed Emma to this point as a warning to me. You won't get away with this, I said quietly. Olivia smiled. I already have, for 19 years. Ask your father about the night your mother really left, about what he chose to protect. Dad wouldn't meet my eyes. Or better yet, Olivia continued, ask yourself why Mia's birth certificate lists me as her legal guardian, not Sarah. The world tilted sideways. What? Visiting hours are over, a nurse announced. We'll talk more at the charity gala tomorrow, Olivia said smoothly. One big happy family. I waited until they left before showing Rachel the note. I need to check this storage unit. I'm coming with you. Rachel's voice was steel. Emma's my daughter. If Olivia did this to her... The storage facility was deserted at dusk. Unit 23's lock clicked open with Emma's code. Inside, we found filing cabinets full of documents, adoption papers, medical records, court orders, and photographs. Olivia with a much younger Sarah, both in lab coats. Mia as a baby, surrounded by medical equipment. Oh, God, Rachel whispered, reading one of the files. Lauren, Mia wasn't born. She was created, some kind of genetic experiment. Olivia and Sarah were research partners before. My phone rang. Ben. Lauren, get out of there now. I found the connection. Olivia's research facility, the one that burned down 19 years ago, they were developing biological weapons. Your mother was her partner until she tried to expose them. And Mia was their prototype. Headlights swept across the storage unit's entrance. A car door slammed. She's here, Rachel hissed. I grabbed the most damning files and shoved them into my bag. Back exit, now. As we slipped into the darkness, one thought burned in my mind. Mia wasn't just my sister. She was living proof of Olivia's crimes, and tomorrow at the gala, everyone would know the truth. Unless Olivia killed us all first. The charity gala sparkled with false promises and champagne bubbles. I adjusted my wire, Ben's voice crackling in my earpiece. Cameras are looped. You've got 20 minutes to access Olivia's office. Across the ballroom, Olivia held court near the donor wall, one hand possessively gripping Mia's shoulder. My sister, no, my father's genetic experiment, smiled that practiced smile that suddenly made terrible sense. Ready for this? Ethan appeared at my elbow, playing his part in a perfectly tailored tux. Just keep her distracted. He nodded, moving toward Olivia with the confidence of someone carrying 8 figures in donation promises. I slipped away, heels silent on the marble floors. Olivia's office door yielded to Emma's keycard, my sister's last gift before her accident. Inside, the air felt thick with secrets. I headed straight for the hidden safe Ben's thermal scan had revealed. The combination was Mia's birthday. Of course it was. Someone's coming, Ben warned in my ear. Security patrol. I grabbed the files and started scanning. Project Phoenix, genetic modifications, human trials, dates matching Mia's conception. And there, buried in the medical jargon, my mother's signature on the original research papers. Footsteps approached. Lauren? Dad's voice. What are you doing here? I turned, documents clutched to my chest, finding out why Mom really left, what you and Olivia did to Mia. His face crumpled. We were trying to save lives. The research could have cured genetic diseases, but Sarah, she thought we went too far. So Olivia forced her out, threatened her. She threatened you. His voice broke, said she'd make you disappear next. I had to choose. The door opened again. Sarah stood there, looking elegant and haunted in black silk. I chose too, she said quietly. I chose to run, to protect what was left of my daughter's humanity. But I failed. Time's up, Ben warned. Olivia's heading your way. Did you know, I demanded, about Emma, what Olivia did to her? Emma was getting too close, Sarah whispered. Like I did, like you are now. Lauren, Olivia's voice cut through the room like a blade. Family meeting in my office? How convenient. She entered with Mia, closing the door with a decisive click. I see you found Project Phoenix. Sarah, darling, you should have burned those files when you had the chance. It's over, I said. I'm taking these public. Are you? Olivia smiled. Mia, show your sister what you can do. My 8-year-old sister raised her hand. The files in my grip burst into flames. I dropped them with a cry. The papers crumbled to ash, my skin untouched. Genetic modification has come so far, Olivia mused. Mia's generation will be perfect, enhanced, superior. She's a child, Sarah protested, not your weapon. I'm whatever I choose to be, Mia said, her voice eerily adult. And I choose power. The Gallaghests are getting suspicious, Ben's voice crackled. Lauren, get out now. But Olivia blocked the door. You have one chance, Lauren. Join us. Help perfect what your parents started, or join Emma in her unfortunate accident. Don't threaten my daughter. Dad stepped forward. Your daughter? Olivia laughed. Check your DNA, Michael. Lauren's not yours. She's the first successful Phoenix trial. Sarah's little insurance policy. The world tilted. Sarah's sharp intake of breath confirmed it. That's why you really left, I realized. Not to protect me from Olivia, to protect me from becoming like Mia. Enough talking. Olivia drew a small remote from her clutch. Choose, Lauren. Family loyalty or family destruction. You have 30 seconds before this building's security system suffers a catastrophic failure, with all these wealthy donors trapped inside. My earpiece crackled with Ben's panic. Ethan's voice in the background confirming the security systems were compromised. I looked at my mother, my creator, at my father, my protector, at Mia, my future. I choose neither, I said, and felt something spark inside me, a power I'd never known I had. The sprinklers activated, but what rained down wasn't water. It was justice, and it was about to burn everything to the ground. Chaos erupted in Olivia's office as the sprinkler system released a caustic chemical cocktail. Through the burning haze, I watched my newfound powers manifest, sparks dancing between my fingers like tiny lightning bolts. Get everyone out! Ben's voice crackled through the failing earpiece. The building security systems are going critical. But Olivia stood unmoved, a cruel smile playing across her face. Finally, she breathed, the dormant genes have activated, just like they did in Mia. Mia stepped forward, her small hands glowing with an intense blue light. We're the same now, Lauren. We can be a real family. We're not a family, I spat. We're your experiments. The door burst open. Emma stumbled in, pale but alive, supported by Rachel. Lauren, stop. The chemicals, they're triggering mutations in the guests downstairs. Horror crawled up my throat as screams echoed from the ballroom. What had I done? Beautiful, isn't it? Olivia moved to the window overlooking the chaos below. Project Phoenix was never about curing diseases. It was about evolution, forced adaptation. She turned to Sarah. Your daughter just helped me achieve what 19 years of research couldn't, mass activation. You planned this, Sarah whispered. You knew Lauren would discover the truth, that she'd try to expose you tonight. Of course, why do you think I let Emma find those files? Why I pushed her to that accident? Olivia's laugh was sharp as broken glass. I needed Lauren's powers to manifest. Rage is such a reliable trigger. My father lunged for Olivia, but Mia raised her hand. He froze mid-motion, suspended by invisible force. Dad! Emma tried to run to him, but Rachel held her back. The whole family together, Olivia mused. Sarah's failed experiment, Michael's betrayal, Emma's weakness, and my 2 successes. She gestured to Mia and me. Choose now, Lauren. Join us willingly, or watch your family suffer the consequences of your resistance. The power inside me surged, desperate for release. But as I raised my hands, Mia's energy field expanded, trapping us all in a shimmering bubble. I learned control years ago, she said, sounding decades older than 8. You're just beginning. You can't beat me. She doesn't have to, Emma's voice rang out. She pulled away from Rachel, revealing a syringe. The neutralizing agent from your lab, Olivia, the one you used on the failed subjects. Before anyone could move, Emma plunged the needle into her own arm. Her body convulsed. No, I screamed, but Mia's field held me back. Fascinating, Olivia observed as Emma collapsed, sacrificing herself to activate your protective instincts. But will it be enough? The sprinklers sputtered out. Through the window, I could see people running, their bodies distorting, powers manifesting uncontrollably. My fault. All my fault. Time to choose, Lauren, Olivia pressed. Your sister's life depends on it. The neutralizing agent will kill her without the proper counter serum, which only I have. Sarah moved toward Emma's crumpled form. You're lying. There is no counter serum. Are you willing to bet Emma's life on that? My powers flickered weakly. Everything I'd done to protect my family had only put them in more danger. Emma dying, Dad frozen, Rachel watching helplessly, Sarah trapped in her own guilt, and Mia? Mia lost to Olivia's manipulation. Tick-tock, Olivia sang. Emma has minutes at most, and those people downstairs, their mutations will be permanent soon, unless I join you, I finished numbly. Smart girl. Together, we can control them all. Guide humanity's evolution. She extended her hand. What's your answer? Emma's breathing grew ragged. Dad remained suspended, his eyes pleading. Through the window, the city blazed with newfound powers, run amok. I reached for Olivia's hand, and everything went dark. When emergency power kicked in, Olivia's smile had turned predatory. Welcome to the family, Lauren. Now let's remake the world. Behind her, Mia's expression mirrored my own despair. We weren't survivors of Project Phoenix. We were its weapons, and I just handed Olivia the keys to our destruction. 3 days after surrendering to Olivia, I watched her parade her enhanced subjects through private demonstrations for military contractors. Each person from the gala now exhibited unique abilities, all under her control through the chemical cocktail she'd perfected. Emma remained unconscious, kept alive by machines in Olivia's private lab. The counter serum existed, but each dose came with a price, my compliance. Beautiful progress, Olivia remarked, reviewing data on her tablet. Your genetic markers are particularly fascinating, Lauren. So much untapped potential. I stood at her side, playing the dutiful protege while my powers churned beneath my skin. Beside me, Mia's expression remained carefully blank. Did you know, Olivia continued, that Mia was technically your daughter, not your sister? We used your embryonic cells to create her. Sarah's contribution was merely gestational. The world tilted. I met Mia's eyes, seeing my own shock reflected there. Why tell us now? Mia asked, her voice trembling for the first time since I'd known her. Because family is everything. Olivia smiled that serpentine smile. And it's time for a family reunion. Bring them in. The lab doors opened. Guards escorted my parents in. Sarah, Michael, and Rachel. Their hands were bound with power-dampening cuffs. "The gang's all here," Olivia announced. "Well, except Emma, but she's serving a greater purpose as our motivation, aren't you, Lauren?" I said nothing, but the lights flickered with my barely contained rage. Now, Olivia activated a screen showing Emma's vital signs. "Let's discuss the next phase. The military wants a demonstration of coordinated, enhanced combat. Lauren, you and Mia will—" "No." The word escaped before I could stop it. Olivia's smile hardened. "No. I've watched your demonstrations, studied your research. The neutralizing agent Emma took, it's not fatal, it's a catalyst." I stepped forward. "You never had a counter serum because you never needed one. Emma's not dying, she's transforming." The monitor tracking Emma's vitals began beeping rapidly. "Clever girl." Olivia's laugh held no warmth. "But knowing the truth doesn't change anything. I still own you, all of you." "You're wrong." Mia moved to stand beside me. "A daughter should stand with her mother, her real mother." Power surged between us, electricity arcing from my hands meeting Mia's blue energy. The combined force shattered our parents' restraints. "Security!" Olivia shouted, but the doors remained locked. "Looking for this?" Ben's voice came through the intercom. On the security screens, he and Ethan had control of the facility's systems. "It's over, Olivia," Sarah said. "The military contractors outside, they're FBI. We've been feeding them evidence for days." "You planned this?" Olivia's composure cracked. "Impossible." Lauren joined me willingly. "No." I advanced on her. "I joined you to understand, to learn how you controlled the enhanced subjects, and now I know how to free them." The sprinkler system activated, but this time the chemical spray was different. A neutralizing compound of my own design, created from my blood while playing Olivia's apprentice. "You can't!" Olivia lunged for the controls, but Mia's force field held her back. "The power, the evolution, you'll destroy everything." "Evolution isn't meant to be controlled," I said. "Neither are we." Emma burst through the lab doors, her skin glowing with newfound power. "Did I miss the family reunion?" Olivia screamed in rage, her own hidden modifications manifesting in desperate fury. She launched herself at me, but found herself caught between 4 generations of power: mine, Mia's, Emma's, and Sarah's long-dormant abilities. "Funny thing about evolution," I said as our combined energy consumed her. "It favors adaptation over control, and we've adapted beyond you." The explosion of power that followed reduced Olivia's legacy to ashes, while the compound in the sprinklers ensured every enhanced subject retained their free will. As alarms blared and FBI teams swarmed the facility, I held Mia close, feeling the truth of our connection. Not weapon and wielder, not sister and sister, but mother and daughter. Both victims of Olivia's ambition, both survivors of her manipulation. "What now?" Mia asked softly. I looked at our assembled family, broken, rebuilt, and stronger for it. Now we heal, together. The power within me settled, no longer a curse or a tool for revenge, but a reminder that the strongest evolution comes from love, not control. The wildlife sanctuary felt different in the aftermath. Sunlight streamed through the renovated windows, illuminating the empty cages where Olivia once kept her test subjects. Now they served as rehabilitation spaces for injured animals, a fitting transformation. I watched Mia work with a young fox, her powers gentle and controlled. She'd grown inches taller in the months since Olivia's fall, but her eyes held decades of understanding. "The leg's healing well," she said, letting the blue energy fade from her hands. "Just like us." The door opened as Emma wheeled in her latest patient, a hawk with a broken wing. Her own abilities had stabilized into something beautiful, the power to accelerate healing in living things, a perfect counter to my capacity for destruction. "Dad's here," she announced, with the final test results. Michael entered, looking older but lighter. The weight of secrets finally lifted. The genetic modifications are permanent, he said, but stable. No signs of degradation in any of the subjects who chose to keep their abilities. And those who wanted them removed? I asked. The neutralizing compound worked. They're fully human again. He hesitated. Sarah wants to know if you've made your decision. I touched the vial in my pocket, the last dose of the neutralizer, enough for one person to erase all traces of Project Phoenix from their system, the choice Olivia never gave her subjects. I'm keeping them, I said. These powers are part of who I am now, who we all are. Even knowing how they came to be? Rachel appeared in the doorway, carrying coffee and files. She'd taken over the sanctuary's administrative duties, turning it into a legitimate research facility. Especially knowing, Mia answered for me, we're not experiments anymore, we're evolution. Ben and Ethan arrived with lunch, spreading files across the break room table. The FBI was still uncovering the extent of Olivia's network, but her empire had crumbled. Her remaining loyalists had scattered, their enhanced abilities either neutralized or turned to better purposes. Speaking of evolution, Ben said, sliding a document toward me, the genetic therapy program is ready for review, using your combined abilities to cure genetic diseases, the way Project Phoenix was supposed to work. Before Olivia corrupted it, Emma added quietly, I studied the proposal, remembering Olivia's final moments, not her defeat in the lab, but later, in her prison cell. Her last words still echoed, you'll understand someday when the power becomes everything. Control is inevitable. But she was wrong. The proof sat around this table. My family, broken and rebuilt, stronger in the broken places. Sarah joined us last, carrying Olivia's old research tablet. I found something, she said, about the original Phoenix trials. There were others before Lauren, children who survived. The room fell silent. How many? I asked. 3, all adopted, all living normal lives. They don't know what they are. What they could be, Mia corrected. I felt the weight of the decision settling on my shoulders. These unknown siblings deserve to know the truth about their potential, but they also deserve the peace of ignorance, something I could never reclaim. We protect them, I decided. Monitor from a distance. If their abilities ever manifest, we'll be there to help. But we don't force evolution, not anymore. Emma squeezed my hand, her healing energy mingling with my destructive force. Opposite powers, working in harmony. The sanctuary needs a new name, Rachel suggested, something that honors what we've become. I looked at my gathered family, not just blood relations, but the bonds forged in fire. Michael and Rachel, finding strength in honesty. Emma and Mia, sisters transcending their origins. Sarah, Ben, and Ethan, proving loyalty survives betrayal. Phoenix Foundation, Mia said suddenly, not for Olivia's project, but for us, what we rose from. I smiled, feeling the power pulse beneath my skin. No longer a weapon or a curse, but a reminder. Evolution isn't about control or revenge. It's about adaptation, growth, love. Phoenix Foundation, I agreed, where broken things learn to fly again. The fox in its cage chirped softly, its leg nearly healed. Tomorrow we'd release it back into the wild, but tonight we'd gather as a family, carrying our scars and our powers, our past and our potential. Some would call it redemption. I called it evolution.
The words slithered across the dining room in perfect Spanish, sharp and precise, meant to cut deep if only I could understand them. But they didn't know about my secret lessons, didn't realize I'd spent the last year learning their language. Every syllable landed like a dagger as I stood frozen in the hallway, wine bottle clutched against my chest. She can't be included in the will, Linda's voice carried through the crack in the door. Mark's mansion belongs in Spanish blood. We need to make sure she never finds out about the inheritance clause. David won't like it, Ethan replied, his usual jovial tone replaced by something colder. He actually loves the girl. My son will understand once we explain. Family legacy matters more than some American wife he barely knows. I'm Nora, and until 30 seconds ago, I thought I was finally breaking through with my mother-in-law. 12 months of perfect smiles, helping with family events, learning their language in secret to surprise them all. Now the crystal wine bottle felt like it might shatter in my trembling grip. The lawyer said we need to act fast, Linda continued, before Mark changes his mind about the property distribution. That old fool's getting sentimental about Nora's dedication to the family. Her laugh was bitter coffee and broken glass. I forced myself to breathe slowly, to keep my heels from clicking on the hardwood as I backed away. The dining room door remained cracked open, spilling warm light and cold truths into the darkened hallway. Voices continued their plotting, but blood rushed too loudly in my ears to make out the words. My back hit the kitchen island. I set the wine down before I could drop it, gripping the counter's edge until my knuckles went white. David's face flashed in my mind, his warm brown eyes, the way he'd kissed me this morning before heading to work. Did he know? Was my husband part of this scheme to cut me out of his uncle's will? Nora, everything okay in here? I spun around to find Rachel, David's sister, watching me with concern. She held an empty serving dish, clearly on her way to the kitchen for seconds. How long had she been standing there? Fine, I managed, proud of how steady my voice sounded. Just getting more wine for dinner. I grabbed the bottle again, plastering on the smile I'd perfected over months of family gatherings. Rachel's eyes narrowed slightly. You look pale, did you hear? We need that wine, Linda's voice boomed as she swept into the kitchen, Ethan close behind. Her face showed no trace of the venom I'd heard moments ago. Everyone's glasses are getting low, dear. What's taking so long? I lifted the bottle, letting the crystal catch the light. Just admiring Uncle Mark's excellent taste. He always brings the best vintages to family dinner. Linda's smile flickered for just a moment. Yes, well, Mark has always been generous when it suits him. She plucked the wine from my hands and gestured toward the dining room. Shall we? I followed her back to the table where David sat discussing business with Uncle Mark. My husband's face lit up when I took my seat beside him, his hand finding mine under the table. The touch that usually brought comfort now raised questions that burned in my throat. How much did he know? How long had they been planning this? And most importantly, what was I going to do about it? I watched Linda pour the wine with practiced grace, her rings catching the light as she moved around the table. She taught me that proper Spanish families always serve their guests first, one of many lessons in her endless crusade to mold me into her vision of a suitable daughter-in-law. Now I understood. I was never meant to fit in. I was meant to be managed, contained, and ultimately excluded. I raised my glass when Mark proposed a toast to family and smiled as the others echoed the sentiment. But beneath the table, my free hand curled into a fist. They wanted to play games with inheritance and blood? Fine. I'd show them exactly how well I'd learned to play. The wedding photo mocked me from its silver frame, David and I beaming at each other under Spanish sunlight. I traced the edge of the frame, remembering how Linda had insisted on displaying it prominently in our living room. To show everyone how beautifully you've joined our family, she'd said. Now those words carried a different weight. 3 days had passed since the dinner, 3 days of pretending nothing had changed while everything had shattered. David noticed something was off, he always did, but I deflected his concerns with practiced smiles and casual excuses about work stress. My phone buzzed. A message from Linda. Lunch tomorrow at the club? Just us girls. The audacity almost made me laugh. I typed back wouldn't miss it while my other hand clenched into a fist. You're doing that thing again, David said from behind me, making me jump. He stood in the doorway of our bedroom, loosening his tie. That thing where you're somewhere else entirely. Just tired. I set the phone down, screen dark. How was your meeting with Uncle Mark? Something flickered across David's face, so brief I almost missed it. Postponed. Mother needed him for something urgent about the estate. Of course she did. I watched David move around our room, his movements precise and controlled like always. He'd learned that from Linda, that careful way of holding himself that revealed nothing. I was thinking, I said, keeping my voice light. Maybe we could visit the mansion this weekend. I'd love to see those gardens Uncle Mark mentioned. David paused halfway through hanging up his jacket. This weekend might not work. Mother's planning some renovation discussions with Mark. She seems very involved with his property lately. She's family. His tone carried a slight edge. It's natural to be concerned about these things. I stood up, moving to help him with his tie like I always did. Our evening ritual. His skin was warm under my fingers as I worked the silk loose. And what am I? What? Am I family too? His hands caught mine, stilling them. Nora, where is this coming from? I met his eyes, searching for any sign he knew about his mother's plans. But David's gaze was clear, concerned, and completely unreadable, just like Linda had taught him. Nowhere, I said, pulling away. Just being silly. My phone buzzed again. Rachel this time. Need to talk. Coffee tomorrow before your lunch with Mom? Interesting. I replied with a quick yes, ignoring David's questioning look. I'm going to take a shower, I announced, needing space to think. But David caught my arm as I passed. Hey, he said softly. You know you can tell me anything, right? For a moment, I almost did. Almost let the truth spill out about his mother's schemes, Ethan's complicity, the Spanish conversations they thought I couldn't understand. But then I remembered Linda's voice in the dining room. My son will understand once we explain. They were so sure of their control over him. Were they right? I stretched up and kissed his cheek instead. I know. The lie tasted bitter, but I swallowed it down. In the shower, I let hot water drum against my shoulders while planning tomorrow's conversations. Rachel wanting to meet first couldn't be a coincidence. The question was whether she was an ally or another piece in Linda's game. When I emerged, David was on his phone speaking rapid Spanish. He switched to English when he saw me, but not before I caught madre and mansión in the mix. Mother says she's looking forward to lunch tomorrow, he said after hanging up. She wants to discuss some family traditions she thinks you'd enjoy learning. I bet she does. I smiled, remembering my Spanish teacher's words about the importance of patience in mastering a language. That sounds wonderful. I'm always eager to learn more about proper Spanish family values. David beamed, clearly pleased by my enthusiasm. He had no idea each word was a weapon I was sharpening. Later, lying beside him in the dark, I listened to his steady breathing and thought about the choices ahead. Tomorrow I'd meet Rachel, then Linda. 2 conversations that could change everything. I touched my wedding ring, remembering our vows. For better or worse, we'd promised. I wondered if David had known then just how much worse things could get. My phone lit up one last time, a message from Uncle Mark. Be careful who you trust, Pequeña. Even family can wear masks. I turned off the phone and closed my eyes, but sleep stayed far away. Rachel's coffee sat untouched between us, steam rising in accusatory spirals. They've been planning this for months, she said, sliding her phone across the cafe table. Look at the timestamp on these messages. My hands didn't shake as I scrolled through the WhatsApp conversation between Linda and Ethan. Perfect Spanish grammar discussing perfect plans to manipulate Uncle Mark's inheritance. The timestamps went back to my wedding day. Why show me this now? Rachel's fingers drummed against her cup. Because yesterday, Mother asked me to be a witness for some legal documents about the mansion. She leaned forward, voice dropping. They're trying to prove Mark is mentally unfit to manage his estate. The cafe's morning chatter faded to white noise. I handed back her phone, mind racing through implications. Does David know? David knows what Mother wants him to know. Rachel's smile was bitter, just like always. My phone buzzed, Linda confirming our lunch. The screen showed a photo of her and me from last Christmas, both smiling. I deleted it with one swipe. There's more, Rachel said. Check Mark's Instagram activity from last night. I pulled up his profile, noting several new posts about the mansion's renovation. The latest photo stopped my breath. David and Linda standing in Mark's study, examining papers spread across his antique desk. The caption read, "Family business meetings, time to secure our legacy." The timestamp 3 a.m. He told me that meeting was canceled, I said, my voice strange in my ears, that he was home sleeping. Rachel's expression softened. Nora, there's something else you should... The cafe door chimed. Ethan walked in, spotting us immediately. His surprise looked rehearsed. What a delightful coincidence. He moved toward our table with practiced charm. Rachel, dear, your mother's been trying to reach you about those documents. I bet she has. Rachel stood, gathering her things. She caught my eye briefly. Think about what I said, Nora, about everything. I watched her leave, noting how Ethan's smile never reached his eyes. He took her vacant seat without asking. Lovely morning for coffee, he said in Spanish, testing me. Though I hear the club serves better brew, Linda's quite looking forward to lunch. I matched his language, letting my accent slip just enough to be noticeable. So am I. Will you be joining us, Ethan? His pause was microscopic but telling. Unfortunately not. Business calls. He switched to English. Though I hear you and David might be interested in some property discussions soon, Linda mentioned, "How is the mansion renovation going?" I interrupted, watching his face. The Instagram photos look fascinating, especially the late-night meetings. Something calculated moved behind his eyes. Social media can be misleading. Pictures don't tell whole stories. No, I agreed, standing, but timestamps rarely lie. I left him sitting there, feeling his gaze follow me out. In my car, I pulled up my laptop and logged into the family's shared cloud drive, access courtesy of David's saved passwords. Linda's meticulous filing system made it easy to find the legal documents, draft papers declaring Uncle Mark incompetent, witness statements ready for signatures, property transfer arrangements dated 3 months before my wedding. My phone buzzed again. David, Mother says you're meeting for lunch. Everything okay? I thought about his face in that 3 a.m. photo, bent over papers that would destroy his uncle's legacy. Thought about all the nights he'd lied about where he was, what he was doing. Another message arrived. Uncle Mark this time. Need to talk. Come to the mansion. Now. I started the car, mind already mapping out what I needed to know, what evidence to gather. The mansion was only 15 minutes away. Linda wouldn't expect me at the club for another hour. My phone lit up once more. Rachel. Be careful, there are more players in this game than you know. I pulled into traffic, heading toward the mansion's familiar gates. They'd all underestimated me, thought I was just the American wife who couldn't understand their precious Spanish, their family schemes, their legacy games. Time to show them exactly how wrong they were. The mansion loomed ahead, its windows watching like dark eyes. Uncle Mark stood waiting at the entrance, his expression grim. You figured it out, haven't you? He asked as I approached. Parts of it, I replied, but I have a feeling you're about to tell me the rest. He nodded, opening the heavy door. Come inside, Pequeña. Let me show you what they're really fighting for. Uncle Mark's study smelled of old leather and secrets. He spread photographs across his desk, not the staged family portraits Linda loved, but surveillance shots. Linda and Ethan entering law offices, David at late-night meetings, documents changing hands in parking lots. I've been watching them for months, Mark said, tapping one photo. Ever since they started pushing for power of attorney. My fingers traced the edge of a photo showing David accepting an envelope from Ethan. The timestamp matched our anniversary dinner. You knew everything. Not everything, Mark's voice carried an edge I'd never heard before, but enough to know they're after more than just the mansion. Sophie's text lit up my phone. Where are you? Linda's at the club, furious you missed lunch. I silenced the phone, focusing on the evidence before me. What else are they after? Mark pulled out a leather portfolio. The real estate holdings are just the surface. There's a foundation set up by my father. Old money, carefully hidden. His laugh was bitter. Linda always thought she could charm her way into controlling it. And David? David. Mark hesitated. Show her, Rachel. I turned to find Rachel in the doorway holding a USB drive. She must have followed me here. These are the real documents, she said, plugging it into Mark's laptop. The ones Mother and Ethan don't know I copied. The screen filled with contracts, emails, bank statements. My husband's signature appeared on papers dated weeks before our wedding, agreeing to terms I couldn't quite grasp. They're using your marriage, Rachel said quietly. American wife, international property laws. If they can prove Mark incompetent and you unfit to inherit, the foundation money stays in Spanish control. The pieces clicked together with nauseating clarity. That's why Linda pushed so hard for the wedding to happen quickly. My phone buzzed again. David. Mother says you missed lunch. Everything okay? Call me. Mark watched me stare at the message. The question is, what are you going to do about it? I looked at the evidence spread across the desk. My husband's betrayal documented in times, dates, and signatures. I need to talk to Sophie. Careful, Rachel warned. She's been having lunch with Mother twice a month since your wedding. The floor seemed to tilt. Sophie, my best friend, my confidant, the person I'd trusted with every doubt about Linda's behavior. You're sure? Rachel pulled up surveillance photos on her phone. Sophie and Linda at expensive restaurants, heads bent together over papers. Mother likes to hedge her bets. I gripped the edge of Mark's desk, steadying myself. Why are you helping me? Because I'm tired of watching Mother destroy people for money. Rachel's voice cracked slightly. And because you're the first person who might actually be able to stop her. My phone lit up again. Linda this time. Darling, we simply must discuss the Foundation's annual gala. Call immediately. The gala, of course, the perfect public venue for announcing Mark's condition and their new control of the estate. When is it? I asked. 3 weeks, Mark replied. They're planning to make their move then. I picked up one of the surveillance photos. Linda and Ethan laughing with Sophie at some cafe I'd never seen. The betrayal burned cold in my chest, crystallizing into something harder than hurt. Rachel, I said, I need access to Mother's social media accounts. All of them. She smiled, pulling out her laptop. Already have them, and Ethan's too. Mark? I turned to him. How do you feel about making some very public posts about the Foundation's future? He leaned back, studying me. What exactly did you have in mind? I pulled up Linda's Instagram, where she'd carefully crafted their perfect family image. I think it's time for some truth to leak out, starting with these documents Rachel found. They'll fight back, Mark warned. Let them. I started typing, watching Linda's carefully curated world prepare to unravel. They wanted to play games with family loyalty? Fine, let's see how they handle a real scandal. Rachel's phone chimed, Ethan asking about the witness documents. She showed me the message, eyebrows raised. Tell him you'll meet tomorrow, I said. We need them thinking everything's still under control. As Rachel typed her response, I looked at the photo of David again, the envelope passing between hands on our anniversary night. The hurt was still there, but something else had replaced it, something cold and precise and ready. One more thing, I said to Mark. I need everything you have on Sophie's involvement. Every meeting, every document, every conversation. He nodded, understanding in his eyes. Planning to start with the weakest link? No, I replied, watching Linda's social media notifications start to ping. Planning to end with it. Sophie's contact photo flashed on my phone for the 3rd time that morning. I watched it ring out, focusing instead on Linda's Instagram feed scrolling across my laptop. Rachel sat beside me at Mark's desk, monitoring the growing chaos on other platforms. Mother's trying to delete the posts, Rachel said, fingers flying across her keyboard. But I've got screenshots circulating faster than she can catch them. The documents we'd leaked, carefully selected pages showing Linda and Ethan's plans for Mark's estate, had sparked exactly the firestorm we'd expected. Their carefully curated social circle was imploding with questions and accusations. David's calling again, I said, watching my husband's name light up the screen. He sounds desperate. Let him sweat. Rachel's voice carried an edge I was starting to recognize. He made his choice when he signed those papers. My phone buzzed with a text from Sophie. Please talk to me, I can explain everything. Speaking of choices, Rachel nodded at the message. Ready for phase 2? I pulled up the surveillance photos of Sophie's secret meetings with Linda. Set up the lunch, make sure Linda knows nothing about it. Rachel typed quickly, then paused. Ethan's posting damage control, says the documents are fake, claims someone's trying to destroy the family's reputation. I smiled, remembering Linda's own words from that first dinner. Family legacy matters more than some American wife he barely knows. The mansion's doorbell chimed. Mark's voice carried from downstairs, followed by familiar footsteps. David. He's not supposed to be here, Rachel hissed, closing her laptop. Mother must have sent him. I stood, straightening my spine. Good, let's see what story they've given him to tell. David burst into the study, his usual composure shattered. What the hell is happening? Mother's hysterical, Ethan's threatening lawyers, and you're not answering your phone. Interesting priorities, I replied in Spanish, watching his face. Your mother's hysteria comes first? He flinched at my perfect accent. How long have you? Long enough. I gestured to the surveillance photos spread across Mark's desk. Want to explain that envelope from our anniversary night? Color drained from his face as he recognized the image. Nora, I can explain. Can you explain Sophie too? I pushed forward a photo of him meeting my best friend and his mother at a restaurant I'd never seen. Or should I ask her at lunch tomorrow? You don't understand. He stepped closer, reaching for me. Mother said it was to protect the family's interests. The family? I laughed, the sound sharp enough to make him step back. You mean the family that's been planning to declare your uncle mentally unfit? The family that used our marriage as a legal shield for fraud? Rachel moved to stand beside me, her presence steady. David's eyes darted between us, realization dawning. Rachel, you're part of this? I'm part of stopping it, she corrected. Someone has to. My phone lit up again, Ethan this time. The message preview showed panic. Need to talk. Linda's losing control. The foundation board is asking questions. Perfect. Your mother's house of cards is falling, I told David, switching back to English. The question is, whose side will you choose when it collapses? There aren't sides, he protested. We're family. Family doesn't conspire to destroy each other. Mark's voice cut through the room as he entered. Your mother forgot that lesson long ago. David's face crumpled as Mark laid out more evidence. Years of manipulation, secret accounts, planned betrayals. Each revelation seemed to age him, stripping away the polished facade his mother had crafted. My phone buzzed continuously now. Sophie, Linda, Ethan, all desperate to contain what couldn't be contained. I thought of Linda's smug smile at that first dinner, thinking I couldn't understand their plots and plans. The foundation board meets tomorrow, Mark announced. They'll want answers about these documents. Mother will find a way to explain, David said weakly. She always does. Not this time. I pulled up Linda's social media accounts where her carefully constructed image was unraveling comment by comment. The truth doesn't need explanation. David stared at the screen, watching his mother's world collapse in real time. What do you want? Want? I thought of all the dinners, all the subtle insults, all the schemes. I want exactly what your mother taught me about family legacy, that it belongs to those strong enough to protect it. His phone rang. Linda again. David looked at me, then at the evidence of his betrayal spread across the desk, and for the first time, I saw real fear in his eyes. The phone kept ringing as the sun set through Mark's study windows, casting long shadows across our fractured family portrait. The foundation boardroom felt like a tomb, all mahogany and money and dead silence. I sat across from Linda, watching her perfectly manicured nails tap against her water glass. Ethan flanked her left, David her right, a united front of familiar betrayal. These accusations are groundless, Linda's lawyer declared, spreading documents across the table. The supposed evidence has been doctored, clearly an attempt to destabilize the foundation's leadership. I didn't speak, just pulled up the surveillance photos on the boardroom's display screen. Linda with Sophie, David accepting envelopes, Ethan's secret meetings. The timestamp on each photo felt like another nail in their coffin. Circumstantial, Ethan snapped, but his voice wavered. The board members exchanged glances. These weren't Linda's usual sycophants. These were old money, old power, old secrets. Perhaps, the board chairman said, we should hear from Mark himself. The door opened, but instead of Mark, Sophie walked in. My stomach dropped. She wouldn't meet my eyes as she took her seat next to Linda's lawyer. Miss Chen has provided sworn testimony, the lawyer announced, about certain irregularities in how this evidence was obtained. The photos vanished from the screen, replaced by documents I'd never seen. Emails in my name, bank transfers. Carefully constructed proof that I'd orchestrated everything to steal control of the foundation. That's impossible, I started, but Sophie finally looked at me, her expression a perfect mask of regret. I'm sorry, Nora, she said softly, but I have to tell the truth about what you asked me to do. The betrayal tasted like copper in my mouth. I looked at Rachel, but she was staring at her phone, face pale. Mark's been in an accident, she whispered. He's in surgery. Linda's smile widened fractionally. Of course, the one person who could corroborate everything, conveniently silenced. Given these developments, the chairman began, and considering Mark's unfortunate inability to attend... Wait, David's voice cut through the room. He stood, pulling out his phone. Before we continue, I have something you need to hear. A recording played, Linda's voice, crystal clear. Once we have control of the foundation, we can move the assets wherever we want. Mark won't be able to stop us once the doctors declare him unfit. Linda's face went rigid. David, what are you doing? What I should have done months ago. He looked at me for the first time since entering the room. I'm choosing a side. You're choosing wrong, Ethan snarled, reaching for the phone, but David stepped back. The recording's already uploaded, he said. Along with everything else, the real documents, the actual plans, everything. Sophie stood abruptly. I need to amend my testimony. Sit down, Linda commanded, but Sophie moved toward me instead. I'm sorry, she whispered. They threatened my family's business, but David showed me proof they were lying about that too. The boardroom erupted into chaos. Linda's lawyer frantically checking his phone, board members whispering, Ethan trying to reach David's phone. Then Rachel's phone lit up again. "Mark's out of surgery," she announced, "and he's asking for the board chairman. Says he has video testimony recorded yesterday, in case anything happened to him." Linda's glass shattered in her grip, water spreading across the mahogany like blood. "You really think you've won?" she hissed at me in Spanish. "You think these people will ever truly accept you? You're nothing but a foreign gold digger who got lucky." I leaned forward, matching her language perfectly. "No, Linda, I'm the daughter-in-law you taught too well. The one who learned exactly how your family handles betrayal." The chairman's phone rang, Mark's doctor. As he answered, I watched Linda's carefully constructed world crumble in real time. Her lawyer gathering his things, board members stepping away, her own son standing firmly beside me. But something in her eyes made me pause. That familiar calculation, that hint of a deeper plan. "Check on Mark," I told Rachel urgently. "Now." As she rushed out, Linda's smile returned, razor thin and deadly. "Family legacy matters more than anything, dear, and some legacies can't be stolen, only destroyed." My phone buzzed. Rachel again. "Mark's gone. The nurse says someone tampered with his medication. Police are on their way." The foundation boardroom suddenly felt smaller, darker. Linda's smile grew as she stood, gathering her things with elegant precision. "Such a tragedy," she said softly. "I wonder who they'll blame." The sound of sirens grew in the distance as David grabbed my arm, urgency in his grip. "We need to leave. Now." But Linda blocked the door, her victory absolute in the dying light of day. "No, dear, I don't think anyone's going anywhere." The hospital corridor stretched endless and white as I ran, Rachel's footsteps echoing behind me. Mark's room number burned in my mind, 507. But when we reached it, 2 police officers blocked the door. "Nobody enters," one said. "This is a crime scene." Through the window, I could see medical staff working frantically around Mark's bed. The monitors showed flat lines where there should have been peaks. "He's not dead," Rachel's voice cracked. "The nurse said he was stable." My phone buzzed. "David. Mother's gone, Ethan too, the board members are talking to the police." The elevator dinged. Linda emerged, her designer heels clicking against sterile tiles. She'd changed clothes. No trace of the boardroom confrontation remained. "Officers," she called out, voice breaking perfectly. "That's my brother-in-law, please, we need to be with him." "Ma'am, we can't—" "Check his medical directive," she interrupted, producing documents. "I'm his legal proxy." The officers examined the papers while Linda caught my eye, her smile razor thin. "Such a tragedy," she said in Spanish. "First the foundation scandal, now this. The stress must have been too much for him." "The medication was tampered with," I replied in the same language. "They'll trace it." "Will they?" "The security cameras in this wing malfunctioned an hour ago. Such unreliable technology these days." Rachel's phone chimed. She grabbed my arm, showing me the screen. A live news alert about Mark's sudden collapse following accusations of mental instability. "You're going to pin this on me," I realized. The disgruntled daughter-in-law, angry about being cut out of the will. Linda's smile widened fractionally. "The evidence is quite compelling. Your fingerprints on his water glass, your recent hostile emails, your public threats about exposing family secrets." "Officers," a detective approached, nodding to Linda. "We need to ask Miss Walker some questions." "Mrs. Castellanos," Linda corrected smoothly, though perhaps not for much longer, given the circumstances. The detective reached for my arm, but Rachel stepped between us. "Wait, show them the video, Nora." Linda's composure cracked slightly. "What video?" I pulled out my phone, hands steady. "Mark wasn't just recording testimony yesterday, he was recording you." The screen lit up with footage from Mark's study. Linda and Ethan discussing the foundation, the planned accident, everything, the timestamp less than 24 hours ago. "That's inadmissible," Linda snapped. "Illegally obtained. Not illegal when it's his house, his study, his security system." Rachel's voice carried down the corridor. "And not the only copy." The elevator dinged again. David emerged with the board chairman and 2 more detectives. "Mrs. Castellanos," one detective said, "we need you to come with us." Linda's mask finally shattered. She lunged for my phone, but Rachel was faster, backing away with the device already streaming to the cloud. "You think this changes anything?" Linda hissed, switching to Spanish as the detectives approached. "You'll never belong here. This family will never truly be yours." "You're right," I replied, watching her perfect world crumble. "I don't want to belong to your version of family anymore." A commotion erupted from Mark's room. The monitors had changed, peaks where there were flat lines before. "He's stabilizing," a nurse called out. Whatever they gave him, the antidote worked. Linda went pale as Mark's eyes fluttered open. He turned his head slightly, gaze finding mine through the window. "The real medical directive," Rachel whispered, pulling out another set of documents. "The one Mother didn't forge. Mark made me his proxy last week." The detectives were reading Linda her rights now, but I barely heard them. Mark's hand moved weakly, beckoning me closer. The officers finally stepped aside, letting me enter. "Did we get her?" he asked, voice rough. "Yes," I said, taking his hand. "It's over." "Not quite." He squeezed my fingers. "There's still the matter of the will, the real one." Linda's protests echoed down the corridor as they led her away, her carefully constructed legacy dissolving with each step. David appeared in the doorway, looking lost. "Nora, Later," I said, not ready for that conversation yet. Some betrayals needed time to heal. Mark's monitors beeped steadily now, each sound a reminder that sometimes family isn't what you're born into or marry into, it's what you choose to build from the ashes of what burns. The mansion's study looked different in morning light. Gone were the surveillance photos and damning documents, replaced by fresh flowers and the day's newspapers. Each headline told the same story: Linda and Ethan's arrest, the foundation scandal, Mark's miraculous recovery. I traced the edge of Mark's desk, remembering that first night I'd overheard their Spanish whispers about inheritance and legacy. The wood felt warmer now, less threatening. "The board approved everything," Rachel said, entering with a stack of papers. "The foundation's yours to manage, along with Mark's voting shares." "And Linda?" "Refusing visitors, even David." Rachel set down a familiar silver frame, my wedding photo. "He's outside, you know. Says he'll wait as long as it takes." I picked up the frame, studying our frozen smiles. "Some things can't be fixed with waiting." "No," Mark's voice came from the doorway as he wheeled himself in, already fighting against doctor's orders to rest. "But some things are worth rebuilding." He handed me an envelope, the real will, dated weeks before the dinner where everything began. My hands didn't shake as I opened it. "I knew Linda would try something eventually," Mark said. "But I needed to see who would stand up to her, who would fight not for money, but for what's right." The document was simple, direct. The mansion and foundation shares split between Rachel and me, with provisions for David contingent on choices he had yet to make. Sophie appeared in the doorway next, hesitant. "The police need my final statement about Linda's threats." "Tell them everything," I said, not looking up from the will. "The whole truth this time." She lingered. "Nora, I know why you did it, but knowing isn't the same as forgetting." She nodded, understanding the weight of what couldn't be undone, and left quietly. Rachel's phone buzzed. Ethan's lawyer, requesting a meeting. "He's offering to testify against Mother in exchange for leniency." "Let him," Mark said. "The truth has its own momentum now." A soft knock drew our attention. David stood in the doorway, looking lost without his mother's influence shadowing him. "The reporters want statements about the foundation's future." "Tell them it's returning to its original mission," Mark answered, "supporting education for immigrant families, starting with Spanish language programs." I felt David's eyes on me, remembering all those secret lessons I'd taken, preparing for a family that never intended to accept me. "I should have chosen differently," David said quietly in Spanish. "Should have been stronger." "Yes," I replied in English. "You should have." Rachel touched my arm. "The detective's here with the last of Linda's papers from the safe deposit box." I gathered the will and wedding photo, ready to leave the study that had started everything. But David blocked the doorway. "What happens now?" he asked. "With us?" I looked at our wedding photo one last time, then set it face down on Mark's desk. "Now you learn what your mother never could, that real family isn't about control or legacy or perfect appearances. It's about choices." "And second chances?" Hope crept into his voice. "Maybe, but not today." I moved past him, following Rachel toward the detective, waiting with one final box of Linda's secrets. Behind me, I heard Mark speaking softly to his nephew in Spanish, something about growth and redemption and time. The morning sun streamed through the mansion's windows, casting long shadows that felt less like threats and more like possibilities. Linda had taught me everything about destroying family bonds, but she'd never understood how to build them. That would be my legacy now. Rachel fell into step beside me, already discussing foundation plans and renovation ideas. The detective waited patiently, another box of truth ready to be unpacked. Somewhere in the city, Linda sat in a cell, plotting or perhaps finally learning. And in my pocket, Mark's will carried not just inheritance, but choice, the power to shape whatever came next. Not for revenge anymore, but for something stronger. The mansion's front door stood open to the morning, and for the first time since that dinner so long ago, I felt no need to translate my thoughts into another language. My truth was clear enough in any tongue. I stepped into the light, ready to build something new from all that had burned away.
The spotlight burns my eyes as I grip the microphone, but it's the only honest thing in this room. My fingers trace the cool metal stand while I scan the crowd at the Blue Note, searching for familiar faces. Tonight marks my first performance since Lily's birth, and the energy crackling through my veins isn't just from the usual pre-show jitters. I'm Hazel, and music has always been my truth. Until now, I never had to defend that truth to anyone. The band starts our opening number, and I lose myself in the melody. Jazz has a way of wrapping around you like smoke, making everything else disappear. For 3 minutes and 42 seconds, I'm free. No diapers to change, no bottles to warm, no expectations to meet. Then I see him. Ryan slides into a front row seat, his presence as jarring as a wrong note in a perfect chord. He wasn't supposed to be here tonight. He promised to stay home with Lily, said I deserved this night to myself, but there he sits, wearing that pressed blue shirt that means business meetings and serious discussions. I finish the song on autopilot, my heart hammering against my ribs. During the applause, I catch Mia's worried glance from behind her piano. She knows Ryan's presence can't mean anything good. "Thank you all," I say into the mic, forcing a smile. "We're going to take a quick break." Before I can reach the edge of the stage, Ryan's already standing there, hands in his pockets, his tell for when he's about to say something I won't like. "We need to talk," he says, reaching for my elbow. "I'm in the middle of a set." "It's important." His fingers tighten slightly. "About our future." The green room feels smaller than usual as he closes the door behind us. My sequined dress catches the dim light, throwing scattered reflections on the walls like tiny distress signals. "Where's Lily?" I ask. "With Mom and Dad. They're more than happy to help," which is actually what I wanted to discuss. He leans against the makeup counter, blocking my escape route. "They've offered to help us financially, so you can focus on being a mother." The words hit me like ice water. Being a mother doesn't mean I have to stop being myself. "Nobody's saying that, honey." His smile doesn't reach his eyes. But you have to admit, trying to juggle everything isn't working. The late nights, the irregular schedule, it's not fair to Lily. Not fair to Lily or not fair to you. Don't be difficult, Hazel. Mom and Dad are offering us a fresh start. They can help manage your career, handle the business side of things. You could still perform occasionally, but in a more controlled way. The mirror behind him shows my reflection, and I barely recognize myself. The woman staring back looks trapped, cornered. "And what about what I want?" "What you want?" He laughs, but there's no warmth in it. "What about what's best for our family, for our daughter?" Through the thin walls, I hear the band starting up again. They're covering for me, buying time, but the message is clear. I need to make a choice. "I have to get back on stage," I say, moving toward the door. Ryan steps in front of me. "We're not done discussing this." "Yes, we are." I meet his gaze. "For now." As I push past him, his words follow me like a shadow. "You can't keep running from reality, Hazel. Sooner or later, you'll have to grow up." Back under the spotlight, I grip the microphone again, but this time it feels different. The metal is cold and foreign in my hands, like everything else in my life is becoming. The audience waits, expectant, unaware of the fault lines cracking beneath my feet. I open my mouth to sing, but for the first time in my life, I'm not sure what truth will come out. The Sunday brunch table feels like a battlefield, with Doris's china plates as landmines and Harold's investment proposals as ammunition. I watch them pass the syrup while they pass judgment, their smiles sharp as razor blades. "The market's absolutely perfect right now," Harold says, cutting into his waffle with surgical precision. "With Hazel's talent and our connections, we could triple her income within a year." Ryan beams at his father, while I feel Lily squirm in my lap. She's picking up on the tension, the way babies do. 3 months old and already more perceptive than her father. "I appreciate the offer," I say, bouncing Lily gently, "but I'm happy with my current management." Doris reaches across the table, her manicured hand covering mine. "Darling, we're family. Who better to trust with your future than family?" The word trust coming from her mouth tastes like poison. I pull my hand away, pretending to adjust Lily's bib. "More coffee?" Ryan stands abruptly, already reaching for my cup, his tell when he's trying to diffuse a situation. "I should check on the quiche," Doris announces, her heels clicking against the hardwood floor as she retreats to the kitchen. Harold leans forward, his voice dropping. "Ryan tells me you're still performing 4 nights a week? That must be challenging with a newborn." I manage, "But should you have to?" He spreads his hands in a gesture of false concern. "Our offer would give you more time with Lily. Isn't that what matters most?" Before I can respond, my phone buzzes. It's Mia. 911. "Call me ASAP." "Excuse me," I say, standing with Lily. "Diaper change." In the powder room, I balance Lily on the changing table and call Mia. "They're making moves behind your back," she says without preamble. "Sam just called. Ryan's been meeting with Vertex management." My stomach drops. Vertex is notorious for buying out artists' rights, stripping them of creative control. "How do you know?" "Sam's cousin works there. They're drafting contracts, Hazel. Big ones." Lily starts fussing, and I cradle her closer. "Ryan wouldn't." "Wake up! He already is." Through the door, I hear Doris's voice. "She just needs a gentle push in the right direction. Every mother struggles with letting go." I end the call and step into the hallway, where Ryan and his parents huddle in conversation. They scatter like cockroaches when they see me. "Everything okay?" Ryan asks, too casually. "Perfect." I hand him Lily. "Actually, I just remembered I have a meeting with the band. New set list." "Now?" His face tightens. "It's Sunday brunch. Music doesn't take weekends off." I grab my purse, already heading for the door. Neither do lies, apparently. What's that supposed to mean? But I'm already gone, the sound of Lily's crying following me out to the car. My hands shake as I grip the steering wheel, but I force myself to drive normally past their windows. Let them think I'm just being difficult. Let them think they still have the upper hand. At the coffee shop where Mia waits, I order the strongest espresso they have. My friend's face is grim as she slides a folder across the table. "Sam got copies," she says. "It's worse than we thought." The documents inside detail a complete takeover of my career, performance rights, royalties, creative control, all tied up in legal language that makes my head spin. "They need my signature," I say, but even as the words leave my mouth, I remember signing papers Ryan had brought home last week. "Insurance documents," he'd said. "Check the last page," Mia says quietly. There it is, my signature on a preliminary agreement dated 5 days ago. The coffee turns to acid in my stomach. "I can fight this," I say, but my voice sounds hollow. "You'll need proof of coercion and deep pockets." I think of Lily, of the life I want for her. Not this web of manipulation masked as family loyalty. Not this slow suffocation disguised as support. Then I'll get proof. I close the folder, my mind already racing ahead. And I'll make them regret ever thinking they could own me. Mia's eyes widen slightly. "Hazel?" "No," I cut her off. "They want to play family? Fine. Let's see how well they handle a real family crisis." As I drive home, I think about the careful facade Ryan and his parents have built. How satisfying it will be to watch it crumble piece by precious piece. They think they're protecting their investment, but they've forgotten something crucial. Cornered animals fight the hardest, and I'm just getting started. Ryan's laptop sits open on his desk, like a confessional, the blue light painting shadows across his home office. 3 a.m., and here I am, hands trembling as I scroll through emails I shouldn't be reading. Lily's midnight feeding gave me the perfect cover. Ryan sleeps like the dead after taking his anxiety medication. The first email makes my stomach turn. Regarding artist management acquisition, H. Morris. My maiden name, reduced to a business transaction. There are dozens more, spanning months. Timeline confirmed for contract execution. Preliminary paperwork filed. Projected earnings report attached. A new message from Doris catches my eye. Remember, darling, this is for her own good. Artists need guidance, just like I needed it back then. The floor seems to tilt beneath my feet. Back then? I dig deeper, finding buried correspondence about Doris's own failed music career 30 years ago. The pieces click together with sickening clarity. This isn't just about control. It's about reliving her own crushed dreams through me. A floorboard creaks behind me. Couldn't sleep? Ryan's voice is thick with artificial drowsiness. I close the laptop slowly, turning to face him. Just checking tour dates. At 3 a.m.? He leans against the doorframe, trying to focus his eyes. On my work computer? You're right, silly me. I move to pass him, but he catches my arm. While you're here, he says, we should discuss the Vertex meeting tomorrow. My pulse quickens. What Vertex meeting? Did I forget to mention it? His grip tightens slightly. Just a casual lunch. You, me, Harold, and their legal team. Legal team? I keep my voice neutral, though rage burns in my chest. For lunch? Standard procedure. He releases my arm, swaying slightly. They're very interested in your potential. My potential? I laugh, and it sounds like breaking glass. Or my profit margins? His medication-addled brain takes a moment to process my tone. Why are you being difficult about this? I saw the emails, Ryan. The words hang between us like smoke. His face shifts from confusion to understanding to something darker. You had no right. No right? My voice rises despite myself. Like you had no right to sell me off to Vertex? To let your parents orchestrate this whole thing? Keep your voice down, he hisses, glancing toward Lily's room. You're being hysterical. Hysterical? You forged my signature. His expression hardens. I did what was necessary. You're too emotional to make these decisions. These decisions? I step closer, forcing him to meet my eyes. About my life? My career? Our life, he corrects. Our future. Everything I've done is for us. No. The clarity of the moment is stunning. Everything you've done is for you, for your parents, for their twisted need to control everything they touch. He reaches for me again, but I dodge his grasp. Hazel, you're not thinking clearly. Let's talk in the morning when I'm more compliant. I grab my phone from the desk. When Doris and Harold are here to help you manipulate me, don't be dramatic. His words slur slightly. Where are you going? To check on our daughter. I pause at the door. And Ryan, call your lawyer. You'll need one. I hear him fumbling with his phone as I walk away, probably calling his parents. Let them come. Let them try to contain this. In Lily's room, I gather essentials with mechanical precision. Diapers, formula, the stuffed rabbit she can't sleep without. My baby stirs but doesn't wake as I lift her from the crib. It's okay, sweet girl, I whisper. Mama's got you. My hands shake as I text Mia. Need that spare room now. Her response is immediate. On my way. Through the wall, I hear Ryan's muffled voice. Mom, she knows. No, I don't know how much. Yes, I took my pills. What do you mean, contain it? I cradle Lily closer, her warm weight anchoring me to reality. They thought they could own me, control me, break me down into manageable pieces, but they forgot something crucial about musicians. We know how to read between the lines, how to hear the notes that aren't being played, and right now, every silent note is screaming for revenge. Through the window, I see Mia's headlights cutting through the darkness. It's time. They wanted to write my story for me, but they're about to learn what happens when you try to cage a song. The night air hits my face as I step outside, carrying my daughter and my fury into the waiting darkness. Behind me, Ryan's voice rises in panic, but I don't look back. Some bridges are meant to burn. The recording studio feels different at midnight, emptier, colder. I sit at the mixing board, replaying the same 30 seconds of Ryan's biggest client's new single, searching for the perfect flaw to exploit. Something subtle enough to pass quality control, but devastating enough to matter. Sam leans against the doorframe, his usual steady presence now tinged with concern. "You sure about this, Hazel? Once we alter these masters..." They altered my life without asking. I adjust a frequency, introducing a nearly imperceptible distortion. Fair's fair. There's fair, and then there's career suicide. He moves closer, lowering his voice. Ryan's lawyers called the label again today. My fingers freeze over the controls. What did they want? To discuss your mental state and its impact on your ability to perform. He hands me a paper cup of coffee. They're playing dirty. They haven't seen dirty yet. I take a sip, but it tastes like ash. Did you get what I asked for? Sam pulls out a USB drive. Everything from Harold's private server. But Hazel, some of this stuff, it goes beyond your situation. The drive feels impossibly heavy in my palm. What do you mean? Doris wasn't just a failed singer. She was systematically pushed out of the industry 30 years ago by Harold. My stomach lurches. Her own husband? Before he was her husband, he was her manager first. Sam's voice drops further. Sound familiar? Before I can respond, my phone buzzes. Mia's text makes my blood run cold. Ryan at my place, looking for you and Lily, bringing cops. I have to go. I grab my bag, but Sam catches my arm. There's more. The pattern repeats. Harold does this to talented women, breaks them down, then builds them back up under his control. Doris wasn't the first. You won't be the last. The implications hit me like a physical blow. How many? At least 5 that I can document. All rising stars. All eventually disappeared from the industry. Most ended up married to business associates of Harold's. Through the studio window, I see headlights sweep across the parking lot. Ryan's car. Back door. Sam whispers, already moving. I'll stall them. I slip through the dark hallways, my heart thundering. In the alley behind the studio, I call Mia. Is Lily okay? Safe with my sister, she answers. But Hazel, they're saying you're unstable, that you kidnapped her. They're building a case. A laugh bubbles up, bitter as medicine. Of course they are. It's what they do. Break you down, make you doubt yourself, then sweep in to help. What are you going to do? Through the back door, I hear Ryan's voice. She's been acting erratic, officer. We're just concerned for our daughter's safety. My fingers tighten around the USB drive. I'm going to break their whole system down. Hazel, no, listen, this isn't just about me anymore. They've done this before. They'll do it again. Someone has to stop them. I end the call and slip deeper into the shadows as footsteps approach the back door. My mind races through possibilities, through the names and dates Sam mentioned. Other women, other lives destroyed, other daughters who might one day face the same manipulation. My phone buzzes again, an email from Doris. Come home, darling. We can fix this together. I understand better than anyone what you're going through. I bet she does. She's been through their manipulation machine, came out the other side so twisted she now helps operate it. But she made one crucial mistake. She helped target another mother. The back door opens, spilling light into the alley. I press myself against the cold brick wall, holding my breath. "Check the parking lot," Ryan's voice carries. "She has to be here somewhere." In my pocket, the USB drive contains enough evidence to destroy them all. But using it means going nuclear, means becoming the very thing they accused me of being: ruthless, calculating, destructive. Then I think of Lily, of the future they had planned for her, of other daughters, other mothers, other lives waiting to be consumed by their machine. Sometimes the only way to stop a fire is to start a bigger one. I slip away into the darkness, already composing emails to every music industry contact I have. By morning, Harold's carefully constructed empire will be nothing but ashes, and from those ashes, I'll build something stronger, something honest, something they can never control. The industry newsletter hits like a bomb at dawn. Rising star's husband linked to music management scandal. My phone explodes with notifications as Ryan's biggest clients start jumping ship. One by one, they're all discovering the technical issues I carefully planted in their recordings. I rock Lily in the pre-dawn darkness of Mia's guest room, watching the chaos unfold on my laptop screen. 3 record labels have already launched internal investigations. Harold's name keeps coming up in increasingly uncomfortable contexts. My phone rings. Doris. I let it go to voicemail, but her text follows immediately. "You have no idea what you're destroying. Some things need to stay buried." A knock at the door makes me jump. It's Sam, looking like he hasn't slept in days. "They found me out," he says without preamble. "Harold's lawyers are coming for the studio. They know I helped you access the servers." My throat tightens. "I'll fix this. There's more." He hands me a manila envelope. One of Harold's previous victims reached out. She wants to talk, but she's terrified. Says she has proof of something bigger than industry manipulation. Inside the envelope is a single photograph. Harold and Ryan, 10 years ago, standing with a group of men I don't recognize. On the back, written in shaky handwriting, "Ask about Geneva." My phone buzzes again, an email from Ryan's lawyer. "Custody hearing moved up, tomorrow 9 a.m. "They're trying to box me in," I say, more to myself than Sam. "Force me to either back down or lose everything." "Maybe it's time to back off," Sam suggests quietly. "You've made your point." "Have I?" I show him the photograph. "This goes deeper than we thought. They're not just controlling careers. They're destroying lives." Lily stirs in her sleep, and I adjust her blanket. My daughter, who they wanted to mold into their next victim, who they'd groom just like they groomed me, just like Harold groomed Doris. Another text from Doris. "Meet me, alone. There are things you need to understand before it's too late." Sam reads the message over my shoulder. It's a trap, obviously, but something in her tone nags at me. The desperation feels real. My laptop pings. Another news alert. Ryan's biggest client has not only dropped him, but is filing suit over the compromised recordings. The client's statement mentions systematic manipulation and industry-wide corruption. "It's working," Sam says. "The whole house of cards is falling." But at what cost? I think of the custody hearing, of Sam's career hanging by a thread, of all the relationships burning in this fire I started. My phone rings again, an unknown number this time. When I answer, a woman's voice speaks quickly, quietly. "I'm the one who sent the photo. We need to meet. There's something you should see before you go any further." Who is this? Someone who tried to fight them 10 years ago and failed. Someone who knows what they do to women who don't play by their rules. The line goes dead. Moments later, an address appears via text. Sam reads it and pales. That's Harold's old office building, the one that burned down in 2013. The pieces start clicking together. The photograph, Geneva, the fire. Something happened there, something they buried along with all their other secrets. Watch Lily, I tell Sam, already reaching for my coat. Hazel, wait, think about this. If you go digging into their past is my future if I don't stop them. I kiss Lily's forehead, and her future too. My phone lights up with another message from Doris. Last chance, meet me, or tomorrow's hearing won't go the way you think. 2 meetings, 2 versions of the truth, 2 paths forward. One could save my daughter, the other could destroy everything I've built. Or both could be traps, designed to silence me, just like they've silenced others. The sun is rising now, painting Mia's spare room in shades of gold and shadow. In a few hours, I'll either have the proof I need to burn their whole empire down, or I'll lose everything I'm fighting for. If I'm not back by 8, I tell Sam, get Lily to my parents and release everything we have to every news outlet you can find. Sometimes the only way forward is through the fire, and I'm done being afraid of getting burned. The burned-out office building looms like a skeleton against the morning sky. I check my phone one last time. Still no word from Sam. The mysterious woman who called about Geneva should be here any minute. Instead, I find Doris waiting in the charred lobby. I knew you'd come here. She stands near a blackened reception desk, looking smaller somehow, more human. After all, this is where it started, where it always starts. Where what starts? The end. She pulls out a familiar-looking USB drive, identical to the one I have. Did you really think you were the first to try bringing us down? My stomach drops. How did you get this from Sam? Her laugh is hollow. Because he's been working for us from the beginning, dear. Just like everyone else in your life. The floor seems to shift beneath my feet. You're lying. Am I? She gestures around the burned space. Ask yourself who gave you access to those servers, who pointed you toward the evidence, who made sure you found exactly what you were looking for. My phone buzzes, a text from Sam. I'm sorry. The betrayal hits like a physical blow. All this time, I thought I was the one setting the traps. The custody hearing starts in an hour, Doris continues, but there won't be much to discuss once the judge sees evidence of your mental instability. Breaking into servers, sabotaging recordings, paranoid accusations. You orchestrated all of this. We gave you the matches. You chose to burn everything down. She steps closer, including your daughter's future. My phone lights up again, news alerts flooding in. My own face stares back at me from industry websites, alongside headlines about mental breakdowns and criminal investigations. It's already done, Doris says softly. The papers are being filed as we speak. Full custody to Ryan, with supervised visitation after you complete mandatory treatment. You can't. We already have, but there's still a way out. She holds up a contract. Sign over your rights to the music, admit to emotional instability, agree to treatment. We'll make sure you can still be part of Lily's life. Through the broken windows, I hear car doors slamming, footsteps on gravel. That's the police, Doris explains. Sam provided quite detailed evidence about your activities these past weeks. My hands shake as I pull up my messages to Mia. Get Lily out, now. The response is immediate. Already done. But Hazel, there's something you need to know about Ryan. The message cuts off as my phone dies. Perfect timing. It's over, Hazel. Doris's voice is almost gentle. Don't make this harder than it needs to be. The footsteps are getting closer. Through the haze of panic, a detail finally clicks. Why this building? I ask. Why meet here? Something flickers across Doris's face. Fear? Because of Geneva? The word makes her flinch. What happened here, Doris? What really burned in that fire? Don't. Was she like me? Like the others? Did she fight back too hard? You don't understand what you're... Then help me understand. I step closer, even as the footsteps reach the door. Tell me what happened to Geneva. Tell me why you're really here. For a moment, I see something crack in Doris's carefully maintained facade. Then the doors burst open, flooding the space with uniformed officers. Miss Morris? One approaches with handcuffs. You're under arrest for cybercrimes and harassment. As they read my rights, I keep my eyes locked on Doris. She won't meet my gaze, but her hands clutch the contract like a lifeline. Wait, she says suddenly, her voice shaking. There's something, but Harold appears in the doorway, silencing her with a look. The mask slips back into place as she turns away. They lead me out into the harsh morning light, past news cameras that appeared from nowhere, past Ryan standing with his lawyers, past the life I thought I was reclaiming. But I saw it, that moment of doubt in Doris's eyes, that crack in the foundation. As they put me in the police car, I think of Lily, safe with Mia, of the unfinished text about Ryan, of Geneva, whoever she was, and the truth that burned with this building. They think they've won. They think they've broken me. But sometimes you have to lose everything to see what's really worth fighting for. And I'm just getting started. The holding cell door opens with a metallic screech. I expect more officers, maybe lawyers. Instead, Mia stands there, holding a manila envelope. You have 5 minutes, the guard says. Mia waits until we're alone. Geneva was Doris's daughter. The words hit like a thunderbolt. What? Her first daughter, from before Harold. She slides the envelope through the visiting window. I found her death certificate. The fire wasn't an accident. My hands shake as I read the documents. Geneva Morris, 19 years old, aspiring singer, dead in a suspicious fire at her father's recording studio, the same building where Doris had me arrested. There's more, Mia says. Ryan knew. He's been blackmailing Harold with this for years. A knock signals our time is almost up. Mia leans closer to the glass. Doris is willing to testify against all of them. She's been keeping records. Why now? Because of Lily, because history's repeating itself. She glances at the guard returning. The hearing's been delayed. Technical issues with the evidence against you. I understand immediately. Sam's carefully constructed paper trail is falling apart. One more thing, Mia whispers. Ryan's at the old studio, destroying evidence, right now. The guard approaches. Time's up. Wait, I call to Mia. How did you get me out? She smiles grimly. I didn't. She did. The guard removes her cap, revealing Doris's face. We have exactly 17 minutes before they realize I'm not Officer Chen. The hallway blurs as we run. Alarms start blaring. Someone's noticed something's wrong. In the parking lot, Mia's car idles with the door open. Harold will be at the country club, Doris says as we drive. He always hides there during a crisis. But Ryan is trying to bury Geneva again, I finish, along with everything else. The burned-out building appears ahead. Ryan's car parked haphazardly outside. Smoke drifts from a second-floor window. He's burning it all, Doris whispers, just like before. I'm out of the car before it fully stops. Inside, the acrid smell of burning paper fills the air. Footsteps echo above. Ryan! My voice bounces off charred walls. The footsteps stop. Then, should have taken the deal, Hazel. I climb the scorched stairs, following his voice. Like Geneva did? Silence. Then a bitter laugh. Doris told you. You knew. All this time you knew what happened here. I knew an opportunity when I saw one. His voice comes from behind a partially burned door. Harold's guilt was very profitable. I push the door open. Ryan stands by a metal trash can, flames consuming documents inside. The Geneva photo sits on top, edges curling in the heat. It was never about the music, was it? I ask. Or me? Or even Lily? It was about winning. He drops another handful of papers into the fire. Something you never understood. Neither did Geneva. His face twists. Don't say her name. Why? Because she fought back? Because she wouldn't let Harold control her career like he controlled Doris? Because she was weak. He hurls the words like weapons. Just like you're weak. Just like your mother? Doris's voice makes him freeze. She stands in the doorway, phone recording everything. Tell me more about my weakness, Ryan. Tell me how you used my dead daughter to blackmail your way up the industry. His mask finally cracks. Mom, I'm not your mother. Her voice could freeze fire. I'm just another woman you tried to break. Police sirens wail in the distance. Real ones this time. It's over, I say quietly. The evidence, the blackmail, all of it. We're done being your puppets. Ryan lunges for the burning can, but I'm faster. The files scatter across the floor, some burning, some intact. Among them, a familiar contract catches my eye, dated 20 years ago, signed by Geneva Morris. She wouldn't sign it either, Doris says softly. That's why why I let them. The sirens are closer now. Ryan looks between us, between the burning evidence and the open window, calculating his odds. Don't, I warn, but he's already moving. He makes it 2 steps before Doris's taser drops him. As he convulses on the floor, she looks at me with tears in her eyes. Take care of Lily. Don't let her inherit our chains. The police burst in, for real this time. As they read Ryan his rights, I watched Doris retrieve the photo of Geneva from the flames. Some fires cleanse, some destroy, and some, if you're brave enough to walk through them, show you the way home. The spotlight feels different tonight, warmer somehow, like sunlight instead of scrutiny. The Blue Note is packed, but I only see Lily in the front row, her tiny hands clapping along with the rhythm section. My fingers trace the microphone stand, the same one I gripped that night when everything started to unravel. But this time, I'm not searching the crowd for approval or permission. This next song, I say into the mic, is called Geneva's Echo. In the corner booth, Doris stiffens. She's been coming to every performance since the trial, sitting in the shadows like a guardian angel with too many regrets. Our eyes meet briefly before she looks away, dabbing at tears she pretends aren't falling. The melody starts soft, building like a storm. It's the song I found in Geneva's old notebooks, hidden in the ashes of that burned-out building. Her last composition, never performed, until now. The newspaper headlines flash through my mind as I sing. Industry mogul Harold Morris sentenced. Ryan Morris pleads guilty to conspiracy. Systematic abuse in music industry exposed. But those aren't the real victory. The real victory is in the stack of letters on my dressing room table, from other women, other survivors, sharing their stories, starting their own bands, recording their own albums, breaking free. The song reaches its crescendo, and I catch a glimpse of Sam being escorted out by security. He still tries to come sometimes, claiming he wants to apologize. But some betrayals don't get second chances. Mia's fingers dance across the piano keys, weaving harmony through Geneva's melody. She's more than my accompanist now. She's my partner in the new record label we started. No more predatory contracts, no more stolen dreams. The final note hangs in the air like a question. In the silence that follows, Lily runs up to the stage, her curls bouncing with each step. I lift her onto my hip, feeling her heartbeat against mine. Again, Mama, she demands into the microphone, making the audience laugh. One more song, I promise, but not Geneva's. That one belongs to history now, preserved but not repeated. As I start the next number, I notice Doris slipping out the back door. On her table, she's left an envelope, another piece of Geneva's story, another shard of truth to add to the mosaic we're building. The industry papers call it a revolution. They say we're changing the game, creating spaces where artists can thrive without selling their souls. But they're missing the point. This was never about changing the industry. It was about breaking cycles. about making sure no other mother has to choose between her art and her child. No other daughter has to burn for someone else's ambition. After the show, I find a new letter in my dressing room, not from another survivor this time, but from Ryan. His fourth attempt at contact since the sentencing. Like the others, it goes straight into the shredder. Some people say forgiveness sets you free, but sometimes it's the permission to never forgive that really liberates you. Lily falls asleep on the drive home, clutching her toy microphone. In the rearview mirror, I catch a glimpse of a familiar car, Harold's old Mercedes, now driven by one of his victims as a trophy of justice. At home, I tuck Lily into bed beneath the dream catcher Geneva's mother sent us. A family heirloom passing to a new generation of unbound women. My phone buzzes with a text from Doris. She would have been proud of all of it. I don't respond. Some bridges stay burned even after the smoke clears. But as I pass the hall mirror, I notice something different in my reflection. Not just strength or survival, but something rarer. Peace, not the kind that comes from forgiveness or forgetting, but the kind that grows in the ashes of necessary fires. Tomorrow, there'll be more songs to write, more battles to fight, more chains to break. The industry isn't fixed. It's just been put on notice. But tonight, in the quiet of my daughter's room, watching her dream without fear, I understand what Geneva knew all along. The most powerful note isn't the one you sing. It's the one you refuse to let anyone silence.